Part 14. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 132. Chapter 132-130. Su Kane, who refreshed her knowledge. In the stuffy room, the electric fan whirred slowly, and Chen Lian felt a little hot while lying on the bed. The newly bought house is still being renovated, and it will take 2 months to move in. Chen Lian can only stay in his small house now, and he regrets going home to sleep. It would be great to just find a good friend to stay with for a few days. Chen Lian turned over and thought about which good friend he could find to stay with for a few days tomorrow. Jingle bell bell. Chen Lian's phone rang. When he took it over and saw that it was an unfamiliar number, he felt a little disappointed. He thought it was a good friend who asked him to repair the water pipe. Hello? Who is this? Chen Lian said weakly. In the phone booth on the Nortel campus, Su Jinglei said immediately, "Is it Chen Lian?" "Well, it's me. Who are you?" Chen Lian asked curiously without remembering who the voice was. Su Jinglei held a small note in her hand. Fortunately, she remembered the number correctly. She said happily, "I am Su Jinglei." Hearing this name, Chen Lian subconsciously sat up from the bed and asked curiously, "Senior, what's the matter with seeing me so late?" "I wanted to hear that you are going to Venice and I want your help with something." Su Jinglei said the excuse she had prepared long ago. Chen Lian was not surprised that Su Jinglei knew that she was going to Venice. Lu Ling would definitely not be able to help but tell her when she went back, but what could she do to help Su Jinglei by going to Venice? "What do you want me to help you with?" Chen Lian asked curiously, thinking about various possibilities. Su Jinglei paused and said, "It's hard to talk on the phone. Can you come out and meet me? I can tell you in person and thank you by the way." Now, Chen Lian's eyes turned in the darkness, as if he smelled the smell of spring. Su Jinglei hummed and said, "It's only around 8 o'clock now, how about we go out for a late-night snack?" "Forget about late-night snacks. I'm not hungry just after dinner. If it's hard to talk on the phone, let's do it tomorrow. I happen to have to go to school." Chen Lian refused without any emotion. A flash of disappointment flashed in Su Jinglei's heart, and then she pretended not to care and said, "Okay, what time will you come to school tomorrow?" "It will be around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let's meet at the school gate then." Chen Lian thought for a moment and said, "Okay, see you tomorrow then." "Okay, bye." After hanging up the phone, Chen Lian couldn't help scratching his head. Su Jinglei had had her phone number for several months, why did she suddenly contact him today? It was definitely not asking for help. As for the purpose, it was hard to say. Chen Lian was lying on the mat and felt that countless pairs of eyes were staring at him in the dark night. "When I come back from Venice, there will probably be more people targeting me." After all, the exposure of Chen Lian in the media is still focused on art, and the entertainment industry is still a little transparent. He has acted in several dramas but none of them have become a hit. However, it is very cold to go to Venice to win an award this time. "I have been shortlisted for the main competition. I hope to win the award. If I really win the award, Chen Lian will really become famous in the mainland entertainment circle, not relying on a few boring gossips." Early the next morning, Chen Lian got up from the bed, tidied up briefly, and went out. It has been a year since he was admitted to Nortel. This is the 3rd time he has come here, and every time he has come he has asked for leave. "I am really sorry for the school." Chen Lian got off the yellow bread, and within 2 steps he saw the young and beautiful Su Jinglei standing in front of the school wearing a pair of short shorts. "Tisk, I was wrong before. Is Su Kane so promising? There's something about this figure, it's completely different from the last time I saw it in winter. No wonder men love summer." Su Jinglei also saw Chen Lian at a glance, walked over and said with a smile, "Long time no see." "It hasn't been long, just 2 or 3 months," Chen Lian replied with a smile, his attitude was much more enthusiastic than last night. Su Jinglei was a little surprised by the enthusiasm in Chen Lian's tone. She thought to herself that she was wearing the right outfit. She said with some excitement, 2 or 3 months are not long, and 1 semester has almost passed. That's true. It's been a year since I took the exam and I haven't come to class yet. It's quite a pity, Chen Lian said, looking at the black and white sign at the door of Nortel. Su Jinglei tugged the broken hair around her ears and said with a slightly admiring tone, "You are a great artist. You are different from us. Classes are not that important to you." Chen Lian turned his head and glanced at Su Jinglei, a smile flashed in his eyes, and his feelings towards this talking senior had slightly changed. Facing Chen Lian's gaze, Su Jinglei tapped her toes gently, her playful short hair bouncing along with it, and she said with a hint of shyness in her bright eyes, "Why are you looking at me like that? Good life. Reward." The smell of this pure female college student was so good that Chen Lian couldn't help but nod and said, "I find that my senior is getting more and more beautiful, so I can't help but take a second look." Really, Su Jinglei couldn't help lowering her head and pulling back her hair, revealing her fair face with a hint of blush. "Master." Chen Lian immediately marveled at Su Jinglei's inadvertent movements. This is something he can't see in his good sisters. Good sisters all like to hit the ball straight, so why would they bother to do this? Even Mr. Zhou's free temperament can't make him feel this way. Chen Lian suddenly felt that Su Jinglei was really interesting. No wonder she later became one of the 4 great actresses, and became known as Su Jinglei. At this time, Chen Lian's view of Su Jinglei had really changed. All the impressions he had in his previous life were overturned at this moment, as if he had gotten to know Su Jinglei again. Su Jinglei lowered her head and looked at her toes. Her 2 straight long legs were dazzlingly white in the sun, but she felt a little depressed in her heart. Why was Chen Lian silent after she finished speaking? "Senior sister, I'm not joking. You give me a really different feeling today." Chen Lian narrowed his eyes slightly, then said with a smile, "Let's go in first and talk as we go." Hearing Chen Lian's voice, Su Jinglei raised her head, looked at Chen Lian, blinked and said, "Okay, you came here today to ask for leave, right?" "Yes, I guess Teacher Li is going to curse again." Chen Lian sighed, as if he could already see the scene where Teacher Li wanted to kill himself. Su Jinglei couldn't help laughing, and reminded her in a pretending to be joking, "If I were Teacher Li, I would be unhappy. My students are so capable, but they just don't come to class. People who don't know think you don't like the school woolen cloth." Hearing Su Jinglei's words, Chen Lian couldn't help but look sideways. This girl is really something, and she has a good grasp of people's hearts. "Why are you looking at me like that again?" Su Jinglei did not avoid Chen Lian's gaze this time, looking straight at Chen Lian with her spiritual eyes, and said with a smile, "Do you think I am a little different from what you think?" Standing under the shade of the tree, Chen Lian nodded slightly and said, "It's different. I should have talked to you more before. I just realized you are so smart today." "Don't use such a tone, okay? You're talking about me as if I'm a teenage girl," Su Jinglei said coquettishly. Chen Lian burst out laughing and said, "I'm called Teacher Chen every day because I think I'm old. Don't be surprised. It's okay to call me Teacher Chen, isn't it? That's how actors are in the entertainment industry. It's disrespectful to call them by inappropriate names, and they don't have job titles. After thinking about it, I had to call me teacher," Su Jinglei said with a smile as she followed Chen Lian. "Yes, it's just that sometimes it feels too weird when someone older than me calls me teacher," Chen Lian replied with a smile, then looked at the teaching building in front of him and turned to Su Jinglei and said, "I'll go up and ask for leave first. Are you waiting for me here or not?" Su Jinglei winked playfully and said, "I'll accompany you up. If Teacher Li gets angry, I won't say anything harsh if there's a girl here." Chen Lian really felt that Su Jinglei was becoming more and more interesting. With this exquisite thought, it was more than enough to take her with him as a secretary or assistant. The situation after going upstairs was similar to what Su Jinglei said. Teacher Li felt very unhappy, but he was worried that Su Jinglei did not curse here. But the most important thing is that Chen Lian is doing well now, and Teacher Li will not treat him like an ordinary student. But I still couldn't escape the nagging and warning, be careful when you go to the Venice Film Festival this time. Your movie is an underground movie. If you run into the film bureau leader, there will definitely be conflicts. Chen Lian understood this. The reason why Wang Xiao's Hawaii was banned was not because his debut film failed to pass the review, so he went to the film festival privately and bumped into someone from the film bureau. The most important thing is that the film submitted by the film bureau did not win the award, but Wang Xiao's Hawaii did. This situation also happened to another underground director. Just tell me whether the leaders above are embarrassed or angry. Chen Lian listened to Teacher Li's instructions and said with some gratitude, "Thank you, teacher, for reminding me. I will pay attention. I am going mainly to participate in the Venice Art Biennale this time. The film festival will only go on the day of the awards, so it should be fine. As long as you know what you're doing, don't worry. The higher UPS are still very optimistic about you. It's just a banned film, so it's no big deal." Teacher Li took a sip of tea, then glanced at Su Jinglei next to him. "I couldn't help but say, you haven't even attended school, but you know a lot of people. You haven't even met any of your classmates." Teacher Li's words made Chen Lian and Su Jinglei a little embarrassed, but neither of them had a coy temper and did not care about such teasing. Chen Lian said with a smile, "Does Mr. Li have classes in the afternoon? I want to take this opportunity to experience it." "Forget it, there is no need to fool me here. You are not allowed to take so much leave next semester." Teacher Li pushed the thermos cup in front of Chen Lian and said, "Go and pour me a glass of water. It's a respect for a teacher, that's it, you can go about your business when you're done." Okay. Chen Lian took the cup, walked to the table where the thermos was placed, poured a glass of water for Teacher Li, and handed it over respectfully. Teacher Li said with a smile on his face, "Okay, go ahead and do your work. I hope you can achieve something in Venice this time. It must bring glory to the school." After coming out of the office, Su Jinglei looked at Chen Lian's profile and said, "You are different from what I thought. You don't have the unruly arrogance of an artist. You are very mature and smooth." Chen Lian stretched and said, "Humans are social animals. Why should we make our relationship with the world so bitter and bitter? But I only do this to smart people." "Smart people? Which one is considered smart?" Su Jinglei asked curiously. Chen Lian looked at Su Jinglei and said, "You are a smart person." One more chapter. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 133. Chapter 133 131. Chen Myron, I want to be more beautiful. There are many smart people in this world, but there are even more idiots. But most people are between smart and stupid. Chen Lian feels that he is such a person. There are many times when he is smart, and when he is stupid, he is not ambiguous at all. When he is stupid, he is even stupider than the idiot. But most of the time, Chen Lian's IQ can still occupy the high ground. In the small restaurant in front of Nortel, Su Jinglei didn't care about the greasiness on the table. She wiped it with a paper towel several times, then calmly picked up her chopsticks and ate the spicy beef noodles. "Are you good at spicy food? You don't look like people from the capital." Chen Lian looked at Su Jinglei's bowl of red oily noodle soup and felt that she looked more like a Sichuan and Chongqing person. Su Jinglei picked up a few noodles, bit them off in small bites, and then said, "I've been eating spicy food since I was a child, and eating spicy food makes me feel good. I can't eat anything that is too spicy, otherwise I will get boils if I get too angry." Chen Lian looked at the clear white soup in his bowl and envied Su Jinglei's ability to eat spicy food. Not being able to eat spicy food means that he will lost the chance to taste a lot of delicious food. Su Jinglei smiled, my personality is very similar to yours. You are not like a Beijing and you don't have the scoundrel spirit of the Beijing gentleman. Hey, you didn't see me when I was angry. Chen Lian ate some noodles before he said leisurely, you go to Nanjing for a walk, and if you meet someone who sniffs honey and strikes up a conversation, you can give me my name. Su Jinglei suddenly became interested, put down the chopsticks in her hand and asked curiously, what's the matter, are you still the big boss in Nanjing? There can be any stubborn masters in Nanjing, but they are not as powerful as those gentlemen in West City. Chen Lian shook his head and then said, when I was practicing martial arts, I always had young gangsters to fight with. At most, I was the Beijing Spider-Man who is a good neighbor in Nanjing. Haha, Beijing Spider-Man, I really can't tell. Su Jinglei laughed for a while, looking at Chen Lian's strong muscles under his t-shirt. She didn't suspect that he was telling lies. It's just that it's hard to move away when his eyes fall on those muscles, just like Chen Lian can't help but stop when his eyes fall on her legs. After 2 bites, Chen Lian lost his appetite. He put down his chopsticks and asked, yesterday you said you had something to ask me for help. Let's talk now and see if I can help you. Su Jinglei paused for a moment, then raised her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, do you want to hear smart lies or stupid truths? I've heard the stupid truth, and now I want to hear the clever lie. Chen Lian lit a cigarette and looked at Su Jinglei with a smile, feeling that she was really a very smart girl. Su Jinglei sighed, pretending to be disappointed, and said with self-pity, but I have already been stupid, and telling clever lies will make me even stupider. Can I take back what I just said? Look, you said something stupid again. Chen Lian was very interested in Su Jinglei's little games and was willing to entertain her with her. Su Jinglei blinked her beautiful eyes slightly, wrinkled her delicate nose and said, then I'd better stay stupid. It's hard for 2 smart people to be friends. Haha, yours is so interesting. I really regret not agreeing to take you to see the exhibition. Chen Lian couldn't help but clapped his hands and shook his head with an annoyed look. It's not too late. Su Jinglei's bright smile and clear eyes really engraved her wisdom into her bones. I don't know if he is talented or not, but he is really smart. Chen Lian likes to get along with such people. After a while, Chen Lian looked at Su Jinglei and said, it's a pity that you are an actor. You should go into business. It's a pity, I like to be an actress, at least now. After Su Jinglei finished speaking, she put her legs together and made a concave shape. Her energetic look was very touching. No wonder so many people in the Beijing circle admired her very much. Willing to stand up for her, this cannot be achieved with the help of 1 or 2 big bosses. There were not many people in the small restaurant, and the environment was not very good, but Chen Lian and Su Jinglei were chatting happily. The noodles in the bowl were not touched except for the first 2 bites, until the noodle soup became cold and the noodles were mixed together. The 2 of them paid and left with some unfinished business. The afternoon sun was very hot at this time. Chen Lian looked at the roadside stall selling soda and cold drinks, walked over and looked at the ice cream in the white insulated box, turned around and asked, what flavor do you like? Bai Le Bao chocolate flavor. Su Jinglei pointed at an ice cream in the incubator with a cartoon lion on the package. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and said, I like this taste too. Is it fate or because it is really delicious? Su Jinglei looked at Chen Lian and asked with a smile. This question is very interesting. Chen Lian picked up 2 Bai Le Bao and handed 1 to Su Jinglei before saying, it's fate and it's also because it tastes good, but I feel it's more because it's really delicious. These are the last 2. Su Jinglei bit her ice cream and looked at Chen Lian with a smile and said, very cunning but with a sincere answer. Maybe I was infected by you, Chen Lian said with a smile. Su Jinglei looked into Chen Lian's eyes and asked, I am not a smart person, I will only infect you with the stupidity of telling the truth, so is it really fate? Chen Lian, who was leaning on the railing, said casually, maybe, many times fate is not destined by God, but by people's subjective consciousness. Su Jinglei found Chen Lian's answer very interesting, and said with a smile, "It's an interesting explanation, but it's too realistic, just like your previous works, which are too realistic and not romantic at all. Friends don't need romance, good friends do. I like romance and look forward to becoming your good friend. It is not easy to change from friends to good friends. It requires close interaction and deeper understanding, but now they don't have time to understand deeply." Chen Lian glanced at the time and said, "I enjoyed chatting with you. I have an appointment tonight. I have to leave first." "Okay, I hope I can be your good friend next time." Su Jinglei was not pretentious. She threw the wooden stick in her hand into the trash can, waved her hand at Chen Lian and said goodbye softly. Watching Su Jinglei's leaving figure, Chen Lian was looking forward to the next meeting. It was easy to get along with Su Jinglei. It should be said that it was easy to get along with smart women. Chen Lian threw away the wooden stick in his mouth and prepared to meet another smart but greedy woman. Ginkgo trees are beautiful in the summer and provide plenty of shade to the yard. On the lounge chair under the ginkgo tree, Chen Myron crossed her legs and enjoyed the rare leisure, looking forward to Chen Lian's arrival. She has been very busy in the past 6 months, filming a TV series and accepting several commercials. It has been a long time since she met Chen Lian. Not seeing Chen Lian for so long did not make Chen Lian fade in her memory. Instead, it became more profound as time went by. Especially when she knew that Chen Lian's art exhibition in Paris was a success, she regretted that she had accepted so many dramas and advertisements. Thus she lost many excellent opportunities. Men are most excited when they achieve success and are least defensive. If they can seize the opportunity, they may be able to get a red book now. Although Chen Myron was upset, she firmly believed that she would succeed in the end. Outside the yard, Chen Lian looked at the ajar wooden door and pushed it in. When he turned a corner, he saw Beauty Chen lying under the tree. As lazy as a cat, Chen Lian walked over lightly and took away the folding fan covering Mei Chen's face. When Chen Myron opened her eyes, she saw Chen Lian's palm dazzling in front of her, and a silver diamond necklace appeared in front of her eyes, shining in the sunlight that passed through the gaps in the leaves, making her unable to open her eyes. "Do you like it? I picked it specially for you. It will look great on you." Chen Lian leaned down and looked into Myron Chen's eyes and said. Beauty Chen's eyes were not attracted by the necklace. Instead, she put her arms around Chen Lian's neck and said coquettishly, "I miss you so much. I like whatever you give me." If it was a child, she would like it even more. Chen Myron looked into Chen Lian's deep eyes, pouted and said, "Put it on for me." "Good." Chen Lian helped Mei Chen sit up, unbuttoned the necklace, and put his hands behind Mei Chen's neck to gently put the necklace on her. The thin necklace and sparkling diamonds hang beautifully on Mei Chen's beautiful collarbone. Chen Lian's fingers gently slid over the diamond on her collarbone and said, "You are really beautiful. I still want to be more beautiful, so beautiful that it can reach the sky, fly." Chen Myron hugged Chen Lian's neck and said infatuatedly. Chen Lian put his arm around Chen Myron's waist and said, "Want to dance? I recently learned to dance." Beauty Chen danced happily under the shade of the summer trees. The bright diamonds swayed gently on her chest, jumping up and down again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 134. Chapter 134-132. Beauty Chen sees the light of day. The sun was shining brightly in the small courtyard, and occasionally a breeze blew through, rustling the leaves. From the bathroom in the east wing, there was the sound of rushing water and the sound of conversation. If you turn around, I haven't touched you from behind. Chen Miren lightly patted Chen Lian's broad shoulder and said. Chen Lian turned his back to Chen Miren and looked at the foam flowing along the water on the ground. The aroma of shower gel in the room is very strong, and the rose scent is very good, with a romantic atmosphere. Is this shower gel the same commercial you shot last time? Chen Lian asked as he picked up the bottle on the shelf. Chen Miren glanced sideways and said, yes, I think it's quite useful. Chen Lian asked, then put down the shower gel, and reached down to grab Mei Chen's leather-filled little hand with one hand. Be honest, how long will you take this break? 1 week, and I have to shoot another movie right away. Chen Miren's hands were covered with shower gel foam and she easily pulled them out of Chen Lian's palm. She took the bath ball and started to rub and play with the bubbles. Chen Lian turned around and looked at Beauty Chen and asked, another Qianyao drama? With Ma Jintao. The foam-filled bath ball in Chen Miren's hand rubbed against Chen Lian's collarbone. The white foam matched with his sexy muscles, adding a different kind of temptation. I'm asking, what are you thinking about? Chen Lian said, tapping Chen Miren's little head. Chen Miren screamed in pain, inserted her fingers into the white foam and tapped Chen Lian's chest. She raised her head and asked, are you jealous? Chen Lian coughed and said, what's there to be jealous about? Seeing the unnatural flash in Chen Lian's eyes, Chen Miren raised a smile on her lips and did not continue to ask. She wanted to save face for the man. She just hugged him and whispered, it's not Qianyao drama, it's New Dragon Gate Inn, there are no intimate scenes, even if there are, I will borrow the seat. Chen Lian didn't speak or explain. He just tapped Chen Miren lightly, but the ground was slippery and Chen Miren almost fell down. Hey, please slow down, it's so slippery, be careful of falling. Chen Miren nervously hugged Chen Lian's neck for fear that the two of them would fall. Chen Lian held Miren Chen steady, put one hand around her waist and said, just turn on the shower and wash away the foam. It's all your fault. The ground is so slippery and you are not honest. Chen Miren hit Chen Lian angrily. Chen Lian looked at Beauty Chen's angry look, and just took off the shower head to wash away all the foam. The warm water immediately soothed Beauty Chen, he hummed twice and stopped talking. During dinner, Chen Lian looked at Beauty Chen sipping her food and asked, have you ever thought about starting your own company to make a TV series? Me, Chen Miren put down her chopsticks, thought for a moment and said, I have no experience. It costs a lot of money to make a TV series. It's hard to make some money. What if I lose it? Then you want to keep filming Qianyao dramas. What will you do in the future? Chen Lian put a piece of egg soaked in tomato soup into his mouth and said. Chen Miren said with some disappointment, I originally wanted to change my career, but the film industry is very difficult to break into. I have only made 2 movies so far. Chen Lian knew the reason for Chen Miren's loss. She originally had the opportunity to play the role of Gong Li, but unfortunately she failed in the end, but fortunately she did not succeed. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, if you want to change, you can find a script yourself. It doesn't cost much to make a movie now. If you don't have money, tell me. When it came to the issue of money, Chen Miren immediately asked enthusiastically, how many millions did those paintings really sell? This is much more profitable than movies and TV series. Yes, so if you see a good script, you can try it out. There are many directors who don't have money to make movies. Chen Lian replied with a hum. Listening to Chen Lian's words, Chen Miren was also a little moved. After thinking about it for a while, she said, then I'll go back and look around. If there's someone suitable, I'll tell you. Well, you can register an advertising company, and when the policy is relaxed in a few years, you can change it to a film and television company, Chen Lian said casually. Chen Miren feels sweet in her heart now. Although she hasn't won Chen Lian yet, a man who is willing to spend money for you is already recognized from the bottom of his heart. What's more, if he is still willing to spend money for you after you get it, it means that the man has his own place in his heart. Victory is in sight. In fact, Chen Myren felt that Chen Lian just didn't want to go out and film with others. Although it was just her own feeling, Chen Myren was willing to think so, which made her feel that she was very important to Chen Lian. After a while, Chen Myren suddenly pretended not to care and asked, "You made so much money, why didn't you go see Gong Li and give her gifts? After all, she was the one who helped you organize the film festival." Chen Lian glanced at Chen Myren and said calmly, "No, I have been busy filming during this period and have not met Sister Gong Li. Let's talk about it next time we see her." Hearing Chen Lian's answer, Chen Myren raised a proud smile on her lips. Gong Li, you have been thrown away by me now." "Then what's the name of the company?" Chen Myren was suddenly full of motivation and looked at Chen Lian with interest. Chen Lian put down his bowl and chopsticks, rubbed his stomach and said, "I don't know how to come up with a name." "You can take care of it. Besides, I don't know how to do business. You'll have to do your own business in the future." Chen Myren naturally knew Chen Lian's character. If he was asked to open a company, he would probably be disgraced within 3 days, so she thought for a while and said, "How about Hongan?" "No, your name should be first, Li Hong." Chen Lian's eyelids twitched. He felt that this name was not very auspicious and had some meaning. "No, this name is too unpleasant. We might as well call it Hongan, Hongan, the shore of the coast." "I'm sorry, Hongan base. Let's use it first. It shouldn't delay Liu's writing of the novel." "Hongan. It feels like a name from the 1970s, and I can't even tell your name." Chen Myren was a little disgusted, but she was very happy in her heart. Chen Lian put her red in front. "As long as it sounds homophonic, I think it's pretty good." Chen Lian doesn't care whether his name can be seen. It's best if he can't. Seeing that Chen Lian liked it very much, Chen Myren could only nod and said, "Okay, then use this name." After dinner, Chen Myren took Chen Lian and chatted about the advertising company for a while, and then they went to the bedroom to discuss ancient literature. "Mainly because I have some doubts about the description of several details in Jinping Mei, and I want to verify it myself." Chen Lian, who rarely had a few days of rest, stayed at Beauty Chen's house for several days, just to sleep with the air conditioner at night. However, this kind of rest did not last. Chen Myren hurried off to film again, and Chen Lian also had to do his own business. He also had to meet Wang Xiao's Hawaii before going to Venice. The two people who had not seen each other for a year were filled with emotion when they met again. Wang Xiao's Hawaii looked at Chen Lian as if he were a monster, wondering what was happening in this world. "I made a movie about an artist, and actually found an artist to act in it. It was exactly the same as my debut film Winter and Spring Days. The movie Winter and Spring Days is also a story about artists. The protagonists are also two real painters. I didn't expect that the second movie would be the same." Wang Xiao's Hawaii was smoking a cigarette and looking at Chen Lian, and suddenly he didn't know how to talk. Should he talk about movies or art? Looking at Wang Xiao's Hawaii, who was silent for a while, Chen Lian spoke first and took the initiative to ask, "Who will go to Venice this time?" Wang Xiao's Hawaii raised his head and looked at Chen Lian and said, "It's not that much money, it's just me, you, and Shuqi." "Isn't Ma Xiaoqing going?" Chen Lian asked, flicking the ashes from his cigarette. "He and Ma Xiaoqing haven't seen each other for a long time. I wonder how this round-faced girl is doing now. She's busy filming and doesn't have time," Wang Xiao's Hawaii explained. He wanted to say something but suddenly shut up. Ma Xiaoqing stopped talking to her after filming Extreme Cold. Wang Xiao's Hawaii knew why, but he didn't know how to ease the relationship. Chen Lian nodded, and then said, "When I go to Venice this time, I don't have so much time to attend the film festival. My main focus will be on the Art Biennale." "I know. I heard Shu Qi tell me that the art biennale is much more valuable than the film festival, Wang Xiaohui said with a hint of envy in his tone. He also studied art and knew that the Venice Art Biennale is more important than the film festival. The Cannes and Oscars there are much bigger. Speaking of the Venice Biennale, Wang Xiaohui suddenly remembered that he had another idea, and asked tentatively, when promoting the movie, "Can I mainly promote your identity as an artist? This way, it will be easier to sell the film, and you may also win awards, it'll be bigger." Chen Lian is still somewhat famous in the European art world, so Wang Xiaohui naturally wants to borrow Chen Lian's name. Okay, Chen Lian nodded, then put out the cigarette butt and said, "Then let's just say, we'll see you in Venice." "Okay, see you in Venice," Wang Xiaohui stood up and said. After Chen Lian left Wang Xiaoshui's place, he called Bai Cheng. "Have you come back from your hometown? Don't miss it if you go to Venice the day after tomorrow." Chen Lian walked on the street and asked Bo Qing on the other end of the phone. Bai Cheng didn't seem to wake up yet, and said drowsily, "I just came back yesterday. Come and find me." "Okay, I'll be there later." Chen Lian hung up the phone after saying that. Chen Lian knows how to make money, invest and buy a house, and Bo Qing is no exception. After making so much money, he naturally wants to go back to his hometown to improve his family's living conditions. Bo Qing's hometown is in a small city in Hubei province. The most famous pavilion there comes from Wang Xiu's The Drunkard's Pavilion. When Chen Lian came to Bai Qing's house, she had already gotten up and was sitting in the living room in a daze. "Just woke up? How do you feel about going back to your hometown?" Chen Lian asked after changing his shoes and putting the keys on the entrance door. Bai Qing turned his head and looked at Chen Lian, yawned and said, "Well, not so much. I didn't even dare to say that I made 3 million. I only said that I made 100,000. My dad kept asking me questions every day." "Of?" Chen Lian smiled and said, "That's because I care about you, but isn't 100,000 too little? How much money did you leave for your family?" "I left 80,000 yuan, and they are not short of money." Bo Qing pulled Chen Lian over with a pillow in his arms, leaned against him and said, "There is no place to spend money in a small city, 80,000 yuan is enough, I will give it to them next time I go back." "What do your parents do?" Chen Lian asked curiously. From Bo Qing's point of view, the family's conditions seemed to be okay. How could he not even be able to afford a canvas before? Bai Qing rested on Chen Lian's lap and curled up like a cat. He closed his eyes and said, "My dad is a policeman, and my mom owns a dry cleaning shop." Chen Lian said with some surprise, "Dry cleaning shop? The equipment is not cheap. Your family is really not short of money." Bai Qing opened his eyes and explained with some embarrassment, "My mother didn't buy any equipment, so she bought a second-hand and scrap machine. It said it was dry cleaning, but it was actually hand-washed." Chen Lian. "Auntie really knows how to do business. My mother is very smart, but she doesn't have much wisdom." Bai Qing spoke in a very calm tone when talking about her mother, as if the relationship between mother and daughter was not very good. Chen Lian looked at her slightly frowned brow, smoothed it with his fingers and said, "We are all ordinary people, as long as we are smart, but why were you so poor before?" "I don't have a job, and my family doesn't give me any money. All the money belongs to my mother. She wants to force me to go back." Bai Qing explained, sat up and rubbed his stomach and said, "I haven't eaten yet, I'm hungry." Seeing that Bai Qing didn't want to continue discussing his family, Chen Lian stopped asking and asked, "Is there anything to eat at home?" "No." "Then let's go out to eat." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 136. Chapter 135-133. Why do you have two faces? In a dumpling restaurant, Bo Qing picked up a dumpling, dipped it in a dish full of vinegar before putting it in his mouth, enjoying the sour taste of vinegar. Chen Lian doesn't like dipping in vinegar and just likes to eat dumplings for free. This biennale will be held for several months. Let's go to England for a tour then, Bai Qing asked after swallowing the dumplings. Chen Lian, who had just returned from answering the phone, said with some helplessness, "It depends on the situation. I just received an audition. If it is successful, I may have to come back midway and go there again in August." "What's going on? Aren't you going to stay until the film festival starts?" Bo Qing looked at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian added a little more vinegar to Bai Qing's vinegar plate before saying, "My friend introduced me to a movie audition before, but there has been no news. I thought it would take a long time, but I just called and said that the movie is going to start filming in July. Now going to audition." Bai Qing frowned when he heard this and said with some lack of interest, "Forget it then, I'll go there next time when I have a chance." "Are you going to audition now?" Tomorrow. Chen Lian was also a little depressed. This time he planned to stay in Venice for more than a month and wait until the film festival was over before returning to China. Now he could only adjust his plan. Bo Qing ate 2 more dumplings and pushed the remaining ones in front of Chen Lian and said, "If you can't eat any more, you can eat it." Chen Lian looked at the more than 10 dumplings left and his plate of untouched dumplings, feeling extremely stressed. There were more than 30 dumplings in 2 plates. After Chen Lian finished eating, he felt that his abdominal muscles were stretched flat. Bai Qing looked at Chen Lian, who was rubbing his stomach and looking uncomfortable, and said with a smile, "Next time, don't talk about disappointing topics during dinner." "Chen Lian, didn't you start it first? Humans are really troublesome creatures, requiring more emotional value than physical value. Don't care if you're hungry or not, as long as you're unhappy, you won't be able to eat no matter how hungry you are." Chen Lian patted his somewhat round belly and said, "You have to exercise when you go back, otherwise you will gain weight." "Let's go then. I also want to exercise. I haven't run for a long time," Bai Qing said as he moved his arms. In the park in the evening, Chen Lian and Bai Qing jogged side by side. Within 20 minutes, Bai Qing stopped, panted, and looked at Chen Lian and said, "I can't run anymore. I can't run anymore." Chen Lian looked like he had known it for a long time, stopped and said, "Then go back. You still have to exercise in the future. You have gained a lot of weight during this time." Bai Qing held her waist and glared at Chen Lian, touched her belly and said, "Bitch, didn't you say you like meat?" Chen Lian, who felt wronged, immediately shut up and stopped talking. Why did he just say that he was bald? Go back and coax him, otherwise he will still remember this incident when he gets to Venice. Early the next morning, Chen Lian was woken up by the alarm clock. He got up and pressed the alarm clock, put a blanket on Bai Qing's white belly, put on his clothes and went out. "Today I have to buy a plane ticket and go to an audition. There are a lot of things to do." Chen Lian took a look at the time and went to Beijing Film Studio first. The audition was in the morning, so he had to finish the audition first. The man in the communication room at the entrance of Beijing Film Studio was now very familiar with Chen Lian. When he saw him coming over, he put down the newspaper in his hand and said, "Hello, come here to reshoot. Didn't you say it's finished?" Chen Lian stopped and gave the uncle a cigarette before saying, "Come for the audition. The previous one has been filmed." The uncle took the cigarette and puffed it out and said, "You keep doing one movie after another, and you will definitely become popular in the future. I'd like to lend you your kind words." Chen Lian lit his cigarette, nodded to the uncle and said, "Then I'll go in first, see you later." "See you later," the uncle replied with a smile, stroking the cigarette rod with his fingers, and then pinned it to his ears. As soon as he entered the office building of Beijing Film Studio, Chen Lian saw Gong Li, standing in the lobby on the first floor chatting with others. Chen Lian walked over and saw that it was Han Shanping, so he took the initiative to say hello. "Lian is here." Han Shanping looked at Chen Lian and nodded, and then said, I heard that Gong Li said you are going to Venice tomorrow. How long will it take to go this time? Will it affect the filming? Gong Li also looked at Chen Lian and joked, Director Han is the producer of this movie. Whether you can succeed in the audition depends entirely on Director Han. Chen Lian nodded suddenly, looked at Han Shanping and said, it won't be delayed. This art biennale will last until November. I don't need to be there all the time. That's good, I will recommend you to Director Huo later, Han Shanping said tactfully, but his tone was very sure. Chen Lian smiled and said thank you, and went to the audition room with them. In the room, Chen Lian saw the director of the film, Huo Jiankai. He seemed a little nervous and had been smoking, but it was understandable. After all, it was his first time as a director, so it was normal to feel unsure. Everything is difficult at the beginning. Not all directors are geniuses and can make their first film with ease. The audition process was very simple. Huo Jiankai just asked Chen Lian to run a few steps, and then he took a look at Chen Lian's figure and immediately decided. The story told in the movie Winner is very simple. It is a love story about a disabled athlete. The requirements for the male protagonist are that he must be in good shape, run fast, and be handsome. Chen Lian naturally met these requirements, and Huo Jiankai breathed a sigh of relief. He almost couldn't decide on the male lead in his first movie, so he felt aggrieved. Fortunately, Chen Lian was better than he thought. But when Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai's expression, he always felt that he was just going through the motions and not making himself seem too powerless as a director. Huo Jiankai handed the script to Chen Lian, then took the initiative to light up a cigarette and said, "This is my first movie. To be honest, I'm quite nervous. It's the first time for everyone. Let's work together to make a good movie." Chen Lian smiled and comforted. After sitting in the corner and flipping through the script, Chen Lian said to Huo Jiankai, "Director Huo's script is very good. There are very few movies focusing on disabled athletes nowadays. I have been preparing this script for several years," Huo Jiankai said with some complacency. Chen Lian put the script away and said, "Although it's not quite what I thought, the script is pretty good. To be honest, the script of this movie is a bit boring. If it were not a movie focusing on disabled athletes, Chen Lian would not want to take this movie. Disabled athletes will still face some discrimination in society. Having a movie like this can give them some comfort and encouragement." Chen Lian has never understood the world of these athletes. He doesn't know what kind of mentality they have in becoming athletes, but they should all be people who are unwilling to bow to life. Compared to normal athletes, Chen Lian admires them more. It's hard to imagine the hard work behind being able to overcome their own shortcomings and compete on the field. However, the movie Winner focuses most of its text on love. The focus of the entire movie is that disabled athletes can also gain beautiful love. The key to this love is the bloody interference and love triangle. The hard work and sadness behind the disabled athletes are not mentioned at all. This pattern is really too small. Huo Jiankai heard the meaning of Chen Lian's words, and although he was not happy in his heart, the tension and attention brought by making a movie for the first time still made him ask humbly, "What do you think is wrong with the script?" After hearing what Huo Jiankai said, Chen Lian pulled up a chair and sat down and said, "I just expressed my feelings casually. Do you really want to hear it, Director Huo? I usually speak more directly." Huo Jiankai nodded heavily and said, "Of course, no matter what you say is right or not, I need to listen to the actor's opinion." Seeing Huo Jiankai's serious look, Chen Lian didn't know whether he was sincerely asking or just being polite, but he didn't look like a narrow-minded person. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "Amplify prejudice, magnify efforts, and use love as a branch line and embellishment." The focus of the current script is a little biased and fails to let everyone truly understand what it is like to be a disabled athlete. Chen Lian patted his leg and said, "We are all normal people. It is difficult for us to become athletes, let alone them. Has director Huo imagined how many difficulties and dissuasion a disabled person would encounter if he wanted to be an athlete? These words were quite tactful. Chen Lian still held back a lot of things. Even if the male protagonist in the script was changed to a normal athlete, it would not have much impact on the entire script. It would only require a few changes. A movie about disabled athletes ignores the most important thing. It is really confusing. I can't figure out what the highlight of such a movie is, or whether it is just to add buff and halo. Huo Jiankai was silent for a while and said, "I know what you said, but will anyone see it when it's filmed like this?" "Of course some people will watch it, at least I will watch it." Chen Lian lit a cigarette and said, "What is the purpose of making this movie? Just like when I paint, if I paint something kitsch, many people will definitely watch it, but what's the point?" In the stuffy room, Huo Jiankai wiped the sweat from his forehead, took out a cigarette from his pocket and didn't speak for a long time. There are many romance movies, but there are very few that focus on disabled athletes. Chen Lian stamped out his cigarette butts and said, "Since we want to pay attention to these groups of people, we should show their true sides instead of selling them like sheep." The last sentence was too much. Huo Jiankai's hand holding the cigarette shook, and the dusty cigarette ashes fell on his pants. "I said it more directly. If the director feels uncomfortable, he can replace me." Chen Lian stood up and put the script in his hand on the table and said, "If director Huo is still willing to use me, I will work hard to complete this role. As for the script issue, please think about it carefully." Huo Jiankai glanced at Chen Lian and said with a wry smile, "I'm not that stingy, and what you said is right, but I have to think about it carefully." "Okay, I hope director Huo can think about it carefully." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he stopped talking. He mentioned all the opinions that should be raised. No matter what Huo Jian decided after renting, he had fought for it. Even if Huo Jiankai is really angry with himself, it doesn't matter if he doesn't have to be the leading actor. He is just trying to have a clear conscience. As for whether it will affect his reputation in the industry, and whether directors will ask him to act in the future, Chen Lian doesn't care much. Acting is a hobby and a profession to make a living. Who would compromise for the sake of hobbies? The worst thing is that you can pursue art in the future. When you get bored, you can set up your own small theater and perform plays. At the entrance of Beijing Film Studio, Gong Li and Chen Lian came out together. The sunshine at noon was a bit dazzling, making it difficult to open one's eyes. Gong Li looked at Chen Lian's side face and sighed and said, "Director Huo's face was not pretty just now, and you didn't know how to control your temper. Wasn't it good for Director Chen before? You think I bully the weak and fear the strong?" "Two faces," Chen Lian asked lightly, and then said, "I also made a lot of suggestions for Director Cheng's movie, but he ignored them all. And the movie winner is different, very interesting. It's a meaningful subject, and I can't bear to see such a good subject go to waste." Gong Li turned her head and rolled her eyes at Chen Lian, and said angrily, "You just want to say that the subject matter of Director Cheng's movie is not good, and there is no point in persisting, right?" Chen Lian was stunned for a moment and nodded, "That's right to understand." Gong Li twisted the soft flesh around Chen Lian's waist and said, "Obviously, I have discovered that you are just like those artists, always wanting to criticize this and that. How can things about artists be considered criticism? This is called appeal." Chen Lian choked. Gong Li let go of Chen Lian, slapped him angrily and said, "The person who should be criticized the most is you. It's not like you haven't criticized me before. I'm going to criticize you again today to make it easier for you to remember. I don't have time, I have to go to the airport to buy a ticket. I don't know how to book tickets over the phone, come with me." After leaving, he was inevitably criticized severely by Gong Li again, but Chen Lian was never a good person and naturally wanted you to resist. In Gong Li's apartment, she was sitting on the bed with her legs crossed, and beside her were a pile of props that would be used in the criticism later. Where did you get these gadgets? Chen Lian picked up a black blindfold and looked at the furry handcuffs and a pile of clothes with sparse fabrics and asked. Gong Li's white and tender toes rubbed against Chen Lian's calf and she said, I bought this when I went to Europe to attend a film festival last month. How do you like it? Not artistic enough. Chen Lian casually dropped the blindfold in his hand and said, there is no joy in doing it yourself. Where is the rope I used last time? What a pervert, where did your full sense of justice go this morning? A man with two faces, Gong Li cursed in shame, then took it out of the bedside drawer and threw it on the bed and said, here it is. Chen Lian picked up the rope and said, work and life should be separated. This is life. I am bursting with inspiration now. Gong Li grabbed it and said, today I am criticizing you, you must be punished honestly first. It's hard for me to feel like you are acting like this. Chen Lian smiled, then raised Gong Li's chin and said, you have black boots and a leather jacket. You can't play a prosecutor, but you can play a female spy. Gong Li's face turned red when Chen Lian said it, and she muttered after a long time, you still know how to play, why don't you play the role of a male spy first? Snapped. Chen Lian immediately waved his whip and said fiercely, say. Where is the information hidden? You lackey. I won't tell you even if I beat you to death. Gong Li looked at Chen Lian with firm eyes and scolded, you are just a villain, use whatever means you have. I will never give in. I just like tough bones. Chen Lian smiled ferociously and raised the small leather whip in his hand. Snapped. First make up a chapter from yesterday. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 137. Chapter 136-134. Silent Invasion. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the sky was clear in the capital city. There were not even a few clouds in the blue sky, and the dazzling sunlight illuminated the entire earth. On a plane flying to Italy, Chen Lian glanced at Bai Qing's profile, looking at the smaller and smaller buildings through the small window of the plane, and said with some emotion, the capital looks so small from the sky, it feels like it's a small city on the 5th or 6th tier. Bai Qing withdrew his gaze from the window, turned to look at Chen Lian and said, if you go to the 5th and 6th tier small cities, you will know how big the capital is. I know, it's just a metaphor. Chen Lian took out the eye mask from his bag and prepared to sleep for a while. When he took out the eye mask, he was stunned. Why did it become lace? Bai Qing took one look and couldn't help but spat and cursed, I knew you didn't do anything good yesterday. Chen Lian quickly put the blindfold back on while no one was looking. This must be Gong Li's doing. She shouldn't have been asked to help pack things. Chen Lian, who didn't have an eye mask, could only take out his sunglasses and put them on. It's better than having nothing at all. Sleeping on the plane is not particular. This trip to Venice will be very rushed. Chen Lian can't sleep even if he puts on his sunglasses, and his mind is still planning the itinerary for the next few days. If Huo Jiankai doesn't change the script, he will go back to filming in July, and Bo Qing will have to bear the burden of the art biennale here. However, the first month or so will be relatively busy, and artists will not have to stay there all the time for the ongoing exhibitions. Chen Lian thought for a while and was about to go to sleep when he felt someone touch his arm. Hello, are you Chen Lian? Said a man wearing glasses on the other side of the aisle of the plane. Chen Lian opened his eyes, took off his sunglasses and turned around to take a look. He was sure that he did not recognize this person. He said with some doubts, that's right. Who are you? The man wearing glasses leaned over the armrest and stretched out his other hand and said, Lu Zhongming, a businessman who is very interested in art, is fortunate to have seen your paintings and read your reports. Chen Lian also stretched out his hand to shake his hand, adjusted his posture and asked, which of my paintings have you seen? The one at the National Art Exhibition. Later I heard that you also exhibited new works in Paris. Unfortunately, I didn't have time at the time. I wonder if I will have a chance to see it when I go to Venice this time. Lu Zhongming spoke very softly and was only 30 years old. He seemed to know a lot about Chen Lian. Just when Chen Lian was about to speak, the flight attendant pushed the car over and asked with a smile, "Do you two need a drink?" "No need," Chen Lian and Lu Zhongming said at the same time. After the flight attendant left, Chen Lian said to Lu Zhongming, "Is going to Italy this time for business or to see an exhibition?" "Both, mainly to see the exhibition." Lu Zhongming pushed up his glasses and said with a smile. Chen Lian nodded and followed this topic and chatted with Lu Zhongming for a while before he figured out what Lu Zhongming did. A typical big boy, he went into business in the 1980s, and now his company is listed on the stock market, making him a very wealthy man. Chen Lian said with some emotion, "I didn't expect you to be from the General Logistics Complex. I remember when I was in junior high school, I always wanted to play football on the football field in your courtyard, but I couldn't get in." Haha, the General Logistics and Logistics Department can only talk about a football field and the second largest auditorium. Lu Zhongming smiled and said jokingly, "People in our hospital always joke that the General Logistics and Logistics Department is lagging behind in everything. Don't say this in front of me. The people from your compound are much better than us," Chen Lian said with his legs crossed, not interested in Lu Zhongming's self-deprecation at all. "Okay, don't say it anymore, lest you think I'm deliberately showing off," Lu Zhongming replied with a smile, and then asked curiously, "What is the work you are exhibiting this time?" "The one that won the award at the National Art Exhibition, and the works exhibited last time in Paris, that's it. There are no new works yet." Chen Lian yawned and felt a little sleepy. He turned to Lu Zhongming and said, "Let's talk later. I didn't sleep well last night, so I'll take a nap." Lu Zhongming nodded, then found a magazine and read it. Just when Chen Lian put on his sunglasses and was about to go to sleep, Bo Qing suddenly asked in a low voice, "Aren't you planning to create this year?" "I have some inspiration. I'm still thinking about it. I'll talk to you later." Chen Lian muttered and fell asleep. More than 10 hours later, the plane landed in Milan. Chen Lian looked at Milan under the bright sun and felt particularly comfortable. It was already night in China, but it was still daytime in Milan. His life was extended on this day. "I have lived for 6 more hours." Lu Zhongming, who had just got off the plane, also expressed this emotion behind Chen Lian. Chen Lian looked back and asked, "Are you going to Venice now? Or are you in Milan?" "I have to deal with business matters in Milan first, and then I will go to Venice the day after tomorrow," Lu Zhongming said with a smile. "See you later, I'm going to Venice today." After Chen Lian and Bai Qing came out of the exit, they bought tickets to Venice, and then sat in the waiting hall and waited. Bo Qing took a sip of water, looked at Chen Lian who was looking around and said, "You had a great time chatting with that man. I thought you could chat with women." "What are you talking about?" Chen Lian glanced at Bo Qing, and then said, "I originally wanted to chat for a few words, but he said that he was from the compound, so we chatted a few more words." "I don't understand what you people in the capital think of the compound." Bo Qing shook his head. "Chen Lian, it's just a casual chat when I'm bored, and I always feel that this person will definitely be useful in the future, so I'll just use it to develop connections." Bai Qing did not continue this topic, turned around and asked, "What was the inspiration you talked about on the plane?" Speaking of this, Chen Lian immediately became interested, sat up straight and said, "Can you sculpt?" "I've been studying for a while, but I'm not very proficient," Bo Qing replied before reacting and asked in surprise, "You're not going to make sculptures, are you?" "You guessed it," Chen Lian said excitedly, "I had this idea when I visited Paris last time. Sculpture is the best carrier to show the beauty of the human body." Bai Qing was not very interested in sculpture, so he said with some disinterest, "You can go figure it out on your own, I won't interfere." "Whatever you want, but you have to teach me later." "Let's talk about it later." In the evening, Chen Lian and Bai Qing arrived in Venice. It was their first time in this water city. The air here is very humid, but it's really beautiful. Bai Qing looked at Venice in the sunset. The red sunset cast on the buildings, covering them with a wisp of red gauze. Chen Lian looked at the rivers running through the city and the boats one after another, and said happily, "Let's go take a boat. There is nothing to do back at the hotel now." Good. The boat swayed gently on the water, and the sunset reflected on the water was suddenly shattered and turned into specks of starlight. When Bai Qing and Chen Lian returned to the hotel at night, before they could put down their luggage, Ji Fa said angrily, "You two went off to play by yourself, leaving me waiting alone in the hotel for several hours. Isn't this back?" Chen Lian was lying on the sofa, not caring about Ji Fa's accusation. Ji Fa looked at Chen Lian's laziness with a headache, and couldn't help complaining, "You don't even know how busy I am in order to have your and Bai Qing's work selected for the biennale. It's better for you to come here and still do it, run and take the boat." "Thank you for your hard work," Chen Lian said lazily. "Thank you for your hard work. Is there any sincerity? I'll eat you sooner or later." Ji Fa glared at Chen Lian hatefully. Chen Lian looked at Ji Fa's baffled look and subconsciously shrank his toes. Why did he feel so cold on his ankles? Although Ji Fa had a lot of objections in his heart, he was still very concerned about Chen Lian and Bai Qing's affairs. He talked to them a lot about the Venice Biennale and explained the itinerary for the next few days. There will be many art salons and 2 art forums in the next few days. You should all go and chat with other artists. It will be helpful to you. Well, I also want to have a good chat with foreign artists. Chen Lian did not resist such an arrangement. Artists are lonely, but not closed. In the next 2 days, Chen Lian and Bai Qing went to the exhibition hall to explain their works every day, and spent the rest of the time participating in art salons and forums. There are so many artists participating in the Art Biennale this time. Almost all artists from all over the world are gathered here. It is the most lively thing in the art circle. As one of the few Chinese artists, Chen Lian and Bai Qing are still very popular among these artists. They may not be so popular politically, but there is not much prejudice in art. Therefore, Chen Lian naturally received the task of leading the team at the China Pavilion. "Lian, there are not many painters coming from China this time, and most of them are not well known internationally, so you have to take responsibility." Deputy Director Qian patted Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, "Art knows no borders. But artists have national boundaries and must establish a positive, correct, and good image." Chen Lian naturally understands this truth. There are relatively few means of exporting domestic culture, and it is also difficult to establish an international image. He will cherish any opportunity he gets. Just like the support for the film industry, there are dedicated people leading teams to participate in various film festivals every year in China, and these are all with tasks. Don't worry, Director Qian, I understand this. International artists still like China very much, otherwise there wouldn't be so many foreign artists gathering in Beijing. Chen Lian responded, and then said, "It's just that I'm here, I can't stay too long, I'll be back home in a few days." "Well, I'll work hard on you these days and do more publicity." "The influence of these artists is still quite big," Director Qian warned, then patted Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, "This time, if your work winning an award will also be beneficial after returning to China." Chen Lian looked at Director Qian's meaningful smile, nodded slightly and said, "I understand. What benefits can it bring?" "It is nothing more than giving some names and support, such as joining some association and giving a nominal establishment. But he will never be given any position." "How old is Chen Lian?" "It's not his turn in terms of seniority. Art is often not only related to business, but also to politics. This is the potential attribute that modern society has brought to artworks again. The reason why many domestic artists have been excluded from the mainstream and often face the embarrassment of being banned is not because they have a bad influence on politics. Chen Lian understands the reason why the sixth-generation directors have been making underground films. Don't just say that the environment is not free and the policies are not free. You also have to look at the background of the times and the impact of the works. In the next few days, the topics discussed by Chen Lian and foreign artists would often extend from modern art to the Middle Ages, then to Chinese art of the same period, and finally the differences and commonalities between Eastern and Western art. There are big differences between China and the West in terms of art forms and artistic concepts, but the commonalities are also very obvious. Chen Lian paused while holding the microphone and said, "At first, they all had religious attributes, and then they began to evolve into the pursuit of beauty. The most interesting thing is that the development of Eastern and Western art is in reverse direction. In the past, Eastern classicism pursued freehand brushwork and focused on mental imagery art. In modern times, it has transformed into the pursuit of realism. In the West, it is just the opposite. Now Fauvism and Surrealism, it's all about pursuing intentions." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he added, "This is a change brought about by the collision and absorption of two cultures. The earth is round, and the two cultures may collide with more sparks in the future." After these words were said, both the audience who came to the forum and the artists who participated in the discussion applauded and fully recognized Chen Lian's statement. Many artists even expressed their intention to understand Chinese art. Faced with such a result, Chen Lian naturally welcomed it and said with a smile, "I very much welcome everyone to understand Chinese culture, which will bring you many different feelings. The most direct manifestation of cultural differences is actually in the field of art. However, with the development of the times, this difference is gradually shrinking. There are bottlenecks in artistic creation. Exposure to different cultures will broaden the artist's horizons. Just like Matisse, Miro, Klimt, and others integrated the freehand three-dimensionality absorbed from Eastern culture into Western painting, breaking the stylized constraints of realism." After the forum, Bo Qing couldn't help but said to Chen Lian, "You have almost become the ambassador of Chinese cultural propaganda." Huh, Chen Lian was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Is there such a thing now? But even if it is, it's not my turn. What I studied is not Chinese painting." Bai Qing nodded and said, "That's true, but you are so energetic, you can try to get in touch with it in the future and learn Chinese painting and calligraphy. This requires a good teacher, but now Chinese painting and calligraphy are almost ruined by some people, and it is a bit difficult to find a good teacher." Chen Lian was a little sad. It was relatively better in the 1990s. It will take a few more years for the masters of Chinese painting and calligraphy masters will emerge one after another, and they will have all kinds of cool operations. It's really our own people who have ruined their own culture. What makes Chen Lian feel most helpless is that among the nearly 100,000 art candidates every year, only a few who study Chinese painting go to study oil painting and sketching. The artistic atmosphere in China is really interesting. Everyone is abandoning traditional culture and is about to sweep it into the trash heap of history. Not only Chinese painting and calligraphy, but also music and drama. Drama and opera are symbols of high status. A ticket can cost hundreds or even thousands, but demand exceeds supply. Traditional opera can hardly even give away tickets. Foreign culture silently beat traditional culture to death. Chen Lian didn't understand or think about these issues before, but now he realizes that these silent invasions are really scary. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 138. Chapter 137 135. Why are you acting like a big name? In a small bar in Venice, the melodious blues turned the time into tranquility, and the dark beer in the draft beer glass exuded a rich and bitter malt aroma. Chen Lian took a big sip and felt that the more he drank, the more refreshing he felt. It's almost as effective as black coffee. Your speech today was great. Jifa took a sip of beer and said with emotion, you are now a mature artist and you have learned to package yourself. Chen Lian, do mature artists know how to package themselves? Wouldn't that be too hasty? Do you know why many art critics have no works themselves, but they can still have a place in the art world? Jifa asked pointedly. Mouthpiece? A spokesperson promoted by an art dealer, Chen Lian asked with a frown. Jifa shook his head and said, of course, this is the main reason, but there is another reason, that is, art is never just works, concepts and cognition are also part of art. Without the appreciation of these art critics, how can the meaning represented by the artwork be spread to the public? Chen Lian suddenly thought of his experience before he came into contact with art. When he was a child, he could not understand the so-called works of art, nor could he understand the so-called Fauvism. However, the history books said that Picasso was very powerful, so he naturally thought that those paintings were very good. Awesome, but where is the awesomeness? I didn't see the meaning of what was written in the book, but I subconsciously thought that the painting meant that. I thought it was a very powerful painting and that the painter was a very powerful artist. Combining this experience, it is easy to understand the meaning of the existence of art critics. Jifa looked at Chen Lian and said, an artist can't just create, but also show his artistic accomplishment to others, so that others will think that your paintings are very powerful and thoughtful. Chen Lian rolled his eyes at Jifa and said unhappily, it has meaning in the first place. It's as if my painting is completely a boast. But how many people can really understand your paintings? Jifa asked for another glass of beer before saying, so someone needs to tell them what the painting means, what its value is, and what its creator has. What artistic concept? Chen Lian drank the beer in his glass and said, it's very troublesome. I hope I can skip the stage quickly. Come on, this biennial art exhibition has already spread your ideas. After Jifa explained, he turned to look at the door of the bar and said, why hasn't Boqing come back yet? Maybe I'm lingering in some handicraft store, Chen Lian said nonchalantly. Bai Qing had a special liking for Venetian masks and had bought no less than 10 masks in the past few days. Jifa raised her lips and smiled and said, you are very excited every time she buys a new mask. Your hobbies are very unique. Maybe I should also buy a mask. This topic is not suitable for us, let's stop here, Chen Lian said quickly. Jifa looked into Chen Lian's eyes, suddenly leaned forward and said, why are you resisting me so much? Chen Lian looked into Jifa's beautiful blue eyes and said, I just want to maintain a pure relationship. This will be good for our cooperation. Maybe it would be better to go deeper, Jifa couldn't help but said. Chen Lian shook his head and said, in that case, I won't be able to bargain with you. Haha, a very realistic answer. Jifa couldn't help laughing, and then said, this is your shortcoming. You are too gentle and considerate to women, and you are very generous. Chen Lian retorted angrily, shouldn't this be an advantage? It's an advantage if you are only with one woman, but obviously you are not, Jifa said while drinking beer, you will definitely have bad luck because of women in the future. Chen Lian curled his lips, not thinking that he would fall into the hands of a woman unless someone could capture his heart. It's just that he doesn't know when this person will appear. Chen Lian sometimes wonders if he will fall passionately in love with a woman. If so, where is she? What kind of person would it be? After a while, Jifa suddenly asked, after you return to China tomorrow, how long will it take you to come back? I will also go back to France in a few days. In August, when the film festival starts, I have to go back to work tomorrow. I don't know why I am so busy, Chen Lian said with a sigh. You are really busy. You have gone abroad twice this year to film 2 movies. Compared with you, I feel like a waste. At the Beijing International Airport, Mr. Zhou, who came to pick him up, looked at Chen Lian and said with some envy. Chen Lian got into the car, looked at the newly purchased Audi A6 and said, "The car is not bad. How was the result of your recent audition?" "It's not good, there isn't even a supporting role." Mr. Joe skillfully started the car, adjusted the air conditioner, and then said with some disappointment, "Am I not suitable for acting? Why is no one using me?" Chen Lian enjoyed the cold air from the air conditioner and said calmly, "It doesn't matter because you are not famous, and your acting skills are not good enough for the director to ignore the bonus brought by fame. You should take this opportunity to sign up for a class and learn acting systematically." "Let me think about it," Mr. Joe said with some confusion. Chen Lian was not originally worried about Mr. Joe's future. He was just afraid that his appearance would flap the wings of butterflies and cause major deviations in her future life. According to the normal trajectory, Mr. Joe will have to wait until the movie Suzhou River to make his mark. Now I don't know if he will have a chance. Chen Lian held his head and looked at the scenery outside the car window, and suddenly said, "If you don't want to learn acting, you can find a tutor to teach English. Anyway, don't let yourself be wasted. It's been abandoned. At worst, I'll let you raise me," Mr. Joe suddenly said playfully. "I can afford to support you, but can you be a canary?" Chen Lian took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and said slowly, "There is a song that says, 'You are a free bird.'" Mr. Joe had never heard of this song, but Chen Lian's words touched her heart. How could she be a canary in a cage? 10 minutes later, at the door of Beijing Film Studio, Chen Lian opened the car door and paused, then looked back at Mr. Joe and said, "You go back first. You don't need to pick me up tonight. I have a gift for you in my box. Go back and open it yourself. Have a look. If you don't open it, I'll wait for you to come back and give it to me with your own hands." Mr. Joe tilted his head and said, "It's too boring to open the gift by yourself. Come back early in the evening." Chen Lian smiled and said, "Okay, I'll go back when I'm done." As for when Chen Lian will be finished, he still doesn't know. Gong Li contacted him before he came back, saying that there were rumors that Chen Lian forced Huo Jiankai to change the script. When Chen Lian found out, he was confused. He was just giving an opinion, so why did it become coercion? He hadn't become a powerful boss yet, so why did he become coercion when he just gave an opinion? In a conference room at the Beijing Film Studio, Huo Jiankai looked at the watch on his wrist and was a little worried that Chen Lian hadn't come back yet. Today was the first meeting of the main creative team of the film crew. He took it very seriously and was very nervous. I'm nervous because he really changed the script, and everyone had mixed reactions after reading it. There's no conclusion yet on which version of the script to use. Huo Jiankai needs to hear what Chen Lian's opinion is. It was Chen Lian who first suggested changing the script. He must have his own opinions, which may help him make up his mind. Just as Huo Jiankai was smoking in annoyance, Chen Lian opened the door and went in. "I'm sorry, everyone, I'm late." Chen Lian apologized proactively after he came in. Then his eyes swept over Ningjing and Jin Qiao, then looked at Huo Jiankai and said, "Director, I'm sorry for wasting everyone's time." "It's okay, we're here, just sit down quickly," Huo Jiankai shouted quickly, then handed the new script to Chen Lian and said, "This is a new script, please take a look and give me some opinions." Chen Lian took the script, glanced at the only empty seat next to Jin Qiao, sat down and smiled at her, then opened the script and read it carefully. Jin Qiao didn't give Chen Lian any response just now, not to mention how unhappy she was with this belated actor. In the original script, she had quite a lot of scenes, and she was still the second female lead, but in the new script, her scenes were cut a lot, and the person who started all this will naturally make people hate her. Ningjing also turned to look at Chen Lian, feeling a little unhappy about him asking the director to change the script. But after seeing the new script today, she felt that the new script was much better than the original one, but her role was not as brilliant as before. Not all the actors in the conference room had objections to changing the script. At least the long-faced Wang Qianyuan thought it was great to change the script. My role in the movie has been increased a lot, and I have changed from the third male lead to the second male lead. The most important thing is that his character is also a disabled athlete. The changes in the script made the character more three-dimensional and fuller, no longer just a green foil. Chen Lian didn't pay attention to other people's reactions, and he didn't know who spread the news. To put it mildly, the actor asked the director to change the script, but what would people who don't know the situation think? Playing a big role? Bullying a new director? Bullying others? Add drama to yourself? Chen Lian doesn't need to think about it to know what others will say about him, but he doesn't care. The entertainment industry is just that, living purely on gossip. But it was very interesting to spread the news. Not many people knew about it, including Huo Jiankai, Gong Li, Han Shanping, and Chen Lian. Chen Lian certainly never said it himself. Gong Li would not cheat Chen Lian like this, and Han Shanping would not say it out loud, otherwise people would think that he was supporting Chen Lian. So the answer is very simple. Our dear director Huo said it himself. Maybe he was really angry, or maybe he was worried that his reputation would collapse after the script was changed, and he wanted to use Chen Lian as his backer. No matter what the reason was, Chen Lian didn't care very much. He only cared about how the script was changed now. If it wasn't corrected and he took the blame, it would be a big loss. If the script is well revised, it doesn't matter if you take the blame yourself. A good reputation in the entertainment industry is of no use. Chen Lian looked at the script attentively. The script has been greatly changed, deleting a lot of love details and increasing the hero's persistence in the face of various difficulties. At the same time, the relationship between the male protagonist and the female protagonist has also been adjusted. The male protagonist is no longer involved in other people's feelings, but it is still a love triangle, with two men liking the female protagonist at the same time. One is a disabled athlete and the other is a wealthy boss. There is a certain gap between the two, but the male protagonist's inner quality and kindness deeply attract the female protagonist. Although the male protagonist is physically handicapped, he is sounder than anyone else on the inside, with kindness, perseverance, hard work, optimism, humor, etc. Even when faced with a rich and able-bodied love rival, the male protagonist still did not give in or feel inferior. Even if he was frustrated by the comments of people around him, he still pursued it bravely. In contrast, the male protagonist is braver than those who are able-bodied. Even if he is disabled, he can still be active in sports. Even if he is disabled, he can still live an active life. Faced with setbacks and the strange sympathy of people around him, the male protagonist does not shrink back and accept it. In his heart, he is a complete and sound person, just like everyone else. Soundness in personality is the real soundness. In the revised script, the sentence that moved Chen Lian the most was, "I don't need sympathy." Sympathy is a strange kind of discrimination. I just hope you can treat me equally. This sentence is very good. Most people will sympathize with disabled people when they see them, but most people's sympathy means pity, which psychologically puts disabled people in a weak position. Treating each other as equals from the bottom of their hearts is what they really want. After reading the script, Chen Lian raised his head and looked at Huo Jiankai and said, "Director, I've finished reading. This change is great and worth it." Worth it? Huo Jiankai was stunned for a moment. After thinking about it for a long time, he glanced at Chen Lian and said, "That's good. Now that the script has been decided, let's discuss it together and try to start filming as soon as possible." Director Huo spoke, and naturally the other people would not object. Not everyone is Chen Lian and would boldly give advice to the director. The only person in the entire crew who is famous and capable of challenging the director is Ning Jing. But Ning Jing doesn't know how to do this kind of thing. The revised script is indeed excellent. Although her role is reduced a lot, it is also much more exciting. At least the character is more likable. Seeing that everyone had no objections, Huo Jiankai picked up the script and said, "Let's go through the script together. If we find any problems, we can correct them in time." "No problem, let's go through it again." Chen Lian opened the script and responded. Everyone else obediently opened the script and began to read around. During the reading, Chen Lian also pointed out a few unreasonable parts of the lines. In fact, the problems with the lines were not big and had no impact on the plot, but Chen Lian still pointed them out. In the eyes of everyone, it was like nitpicking. Just like deliberately causing trouble for the director. Everyone watching was filled with envy. The artist really had a bad mind. I don't know if it's because I have confidence, or if I just don't understand the ways of the world. Ning Jing also looked sideways at Chen Lian, who was exchanging words with Huo Jiankai, and her impression of him was much better. People who are more sincere are better than people who are timid and dare not say anything. "Director, if you change the sentence, I'll have no problem." Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai, his eyes flashed slightly, and finally he closed the script and stopped talking. Although what Huo Jiankai did was not very polite, it was just a small embarrassment. Everyone knew that they understood each other and could not go too far. Chen Lian was unhappy that Huo Jiankai let him take the blame, so he deliberately picked on him to show his attitude. If you do it too much, it will really look bad on everyone's faces. Director Huo is really interesting. He obviously wanted to change the script, but he also deliberately revealed the news because of Chen Lian. If he hadn't seen that the script had been changed well, he would have been embarrassed. Let him know that teacher Chen is not that easy to bully. After the reading, Chen Lian declined Huo Jiankai's invitation to have dinner together, saying that he had just gotten off the plane today and wanted to go back and rest early. Huo Jiankai just thought that Chen Lian was still angry, and after a few words of advice, he said nothing more. Chen Lian lit a cigarette at the entrance of Beijing Film Studio. He was a little worried about whether he could get a taxi home so late. If he couldn't get a taxi within 5 minutes, he would call Mr. Zhou and ask her to pick him up. In a car not far away, Zhang Wen glanced at Chen Lian, who was smoking at the door, turned around and asked, "Is this guy the leading actor in your movie? Did you ask Lao Huo to change the script?" Ning Jing hummed, raised her eyebrows and asked, "What? Are you going to stand up for your friend?" "I have nothing to do. I read the script and found that there is nothing wrong with it." Zhang Wen started the car and said to Ning Jing, "But I really want to get to know him. It's really unusual for an artist to come to act." Zhang Wen's car quickly stopped in front of Chen Lian, rolled down the window and shouted to him, "Where are you going? Take my car and give you a ride." Chen Lian turned his head and looked at the arrogant Zhang Wen and Ning Jing sitting in the passenger seat. He felt a little puzzled, but he still said with a smile, "Thanks then." After saying that, Chen Lian opened the back seat door and got into the car. It was better not to take the bastard in the car than to let Mr. Zhou make another trip. The normal update time will resume today, and there are still 9,000 words left in the evening. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 139. Chapter 138-136. This is the man of God. In the quiet car, Zhang Wen and Chen Lian were sitting one behind the other. The street lights on the roadside that were receding cast a halo of light into the car, like a kaleidoscope. Zhang Wen drove the car with one hand. He put the hand holding the cigarette on the car window and looked at Chen Lian through the rearview mirror and asked, "How come you, an artist, come to act?" "Not yours, I'm young and can't afford it." Chen Lian waved his hands quickly, and then explained, "Acting is also art, what's the difference?" "That said, the difference is huge." Zhang Wen threw the cigarette butt out of the window and said, "I'm pretty good at acting. Do you think I can compete with Picasso?" Ning Jing, who was sitting in the passenger seat, couldn't help but frown when she heard Zhang Wen's words. Why couldn't she compare? Chen Lian thought what Zhang Wen said was funny and couldn't help but ask, without a comparison like yours, how could two different art forms be superior or inferior? Art is not high or low, but human cognition is. Zhang Wen sighed, then looked at Chen Lian in the rearview mirror and said, you should know this better than me. Chen Lian couldn't help but nodded and said, that's true, but the emergence of this concept is inevitable. There are thresholds for painting, but there is no threshold for acting. Let's just say that the artistry of film art is more reflected in the director. Zhang Wen, a new director, said with deep emotion. Chen Lian smiled and said, you are the director, you are right. Haha, I'm not bragging. Zhang Wen laughed twice and said, but actors' performances do not account for as much in film art as directors. There's nothing wrong with you saying that, but the movie was created by multiple people, and you can't ignore the credit of the actors. Chen Lian leaned on the back seat and asked, when will your movie be released? Zhang Wen glanced at the rearview mirror and said, why didn't you come to audition when I was looking for an actor in September? You are particularly suitable for the second male lead in my movie. It's too late to know. Chen Lian replied lightly, looked at the scenery outside the car window, patted the seat and said, I'm here, just stop at the intersection. Zhang Wen took a look, then pulled over and said, let's go out for a drink next time we have time. Okay, Chen Lian responded, and then asked, are you participating in the Venice Film Festival? See you in Venice next month. After Chen Lian finished speaking, he opened the car door and got out of the car. Zhang Wen sat in the car and looked at Chen Lian's back and couldn't help but said to Ningjing, this is an interesting person. What did he mean by participating in the Venice Film Festival just now? You know. Ningjing had really heard of this. When she was at the Beijing Film Studio, she heard Huo Jian mention them talking about it, and she said, he made a movie with Wang Xiaohui last year, and it was selected for the Venice Film Festival, and his paintings were also selected for the Venice Art Biennale. After hearing this, Zhang Wen squinted his eyes and looked at Chen Lian's back, and said out of nowhere, this is a humming genius. Venice this year is really interesting. Chen Lian, who was rated as a god by Zhang Wen, only felt that he was a sage at this moment. On the big bed covered with a mat, Chen Lian lay sprawled on it, enjoying the tranquility after exercise. The only sound in the room was the whirring of the air conditioner. Mr. Zhou was lying in Chen Lian's arms, playing with a blue crystal pendant with his slender fingers. He looked at it against the ceiling light in the bedroom, which reflected a very beautiful light. This was a gift that Chen Lian brought to her from Venice. It was not expensive but very beautiful. It's so beautiful. I like this necklace so much. Mr. Zhou raised his head and looked at Chen Lian's chin and said. Chen Lian rubbed Mr. Zhou's head and said, as long as you like it, I've been choosing it for a long time. Mr. Zhou was very pleased with Chen Lian's doting gestures. He couldn't help but rub his palm, then he put his hand on Chen Lian's chest and said, I hope I can receive the ring from you next time. Can the ring be given away casually? Chen Lian did not answer. He just scratched Mr. Zhou's small nose and said, don't be so greedy. I just gave away the pendant. This is not greed, even if it's a solid one. Mr. Zhou looked at Chen Lian, who was pretending to be stupid and couldn't help but bite his finger. You are so insincere, Chen Lian said casually, hugged Mr. Zhou and said, go to bed early, we have to go filming tomorrow. Mr. Zhou bit his lip, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes, then reached out to turn off the light, and lay in Chen Lian's arms, blinking and not knowing what he was thinking. Early the next morning, Chen Lian just got up and found that Mr. Zhou had prepared breakfast and was waiting for him. Why are you so diligent all of a sudden? Chen Lian asked in surprise. In the past, Mr. Zhou always slept in, but this was the first time that she had taken the initiative to get up so early to prepare breakfast. Mr. Zhou pulled Chen Lian to sit down, put a bun to his mouth with a smile and said, I'm taking you to the Beijing Film Studio today. I'm the driver, so of course I have to take good care of you. Chen Lian looked at Mr. Zhou's bright smile, took a bite of the bun and pretended not to know her little thoughts, and enjoyed the sumptuous breakfast with peace of mind. At about 9 o'clock, Chen Lian arrived at the Beijing film studio. As soon as he met the crew, they went to the filming location together. Huo Jiankai became obviously anxious and nervous at this time, and he kept reading the storyboards on the way to the set. The rest of the crew were not so nervous. After all, they had not crossed over into another industry and were doing their own jobs. It was just Huo Jiankai, an art designer who switched careers to become a director, who was so nervous that he almost infected the rest of the crew. Chen Lian closed his eyes and recuperated, still thinking about the role in his mind. Disabled athletes were very unfamiliar to Chen Lian. He had been in Venice before and had no time to observe the characters and understand this group. The only understanding was in video of the Paralympic Games watched in Venice. I don't know if it was Chen Lian's calmness that made Huo Jiankai, who was sitting next to him, feel more at ease. He put down the script in his hand, touched Chen Lian and said, "There will be a professional to give guidance later, you and him talk more." Chen Lian opened his eyes and asked, "Is he a disabled athlete?" "Yes, actually the story is based on him," Huo Jiankai explained. "Okay, I understand." Chen Lian breathed a sigh of relief. With such a prototype, he would have someone to observe, and he wouldn't have to worry about not being able to understand the hearts of disabled athletes. But what surprised Chen Lian the most was that the characters in the script actually had prototypes. The male protagonist in the script was a football forward. His leg was blown off when he participated in the counter-attack, but he refused to admit defeat and became a disabled athlete. Also broke the sprint record. This is the real man of God. However, Huo Jiankai said at this time, he is no longer an athlete and has gone into business, but he has won 5 gold medals in total and is a very powerful athlete. The crew's car soon arrived at a training base for the track and field team. The place was small and only had 2 rows of dormitories and an old playground. The conditions were very crude and difficult. Chen Lian looked at the dilapidated track in front of him and was filled with emotion. How could such a dilapidated track train a group of outstanding athletes, and how much effort they put in under such conditions? Maybe he could do something for them. Chen Lian's solace rubbed against the track, kicking up a cloud of dust. "Director Huo, you are here." A tall man walked over. His walking posture was a little awkward in a pair of trousers in the summer. It seemed that he was the prototype of the protagonist of the movie. Chen Lian walked over and carefully observed his expression and walking posture. After he finished greeting Huo Jiankai, he stretched out his hand and said, "Hello, my name is Chen Lian." "Hello, hello." Sun Changting smiled and stretched out his hand to shake Chen Lian's hand. His palm was large and strong. Sun Changting looked at Chen Lian carefully and then turned to Huo Jiankai and said, "This is the leading actor of the movie, he is much more handsome than me. No prize. As an actor, you rely on your reputation to make a living. I can't compare with you," Chen Lian said politely, and then asked, "I wonder if I can talk to you later." "Of course you can, but I don't have much time. I have to rush back to Jinmen in the evening," Sun Changting then explained, "but as long as I have time, I will come over and take a look. Being a boss in business will naturally make you busy." Chen Lian could understand, so he said, "Then let's hurry up. I'm very curious about your deeds. I don't want to do a bad job and damage your heroic image." Sun Changting laughed loudly and said, "What kind of hero is not heroic? Let's go over there and chat." With his hearty laughter and strong body, it was really hard to tell that he was a disabled person. Chen Lian was slightly one step behind Sun Changting, observing his every move. Arriving in the shade downstairs of the dormitory building, Sun Changting took out a box of cigarettes and handed one to Chen Lian, lit it and took a puff before saying, "My story is actually very simple. It's about a man who broke his leg and refused to admit defeat and struggled hard. Some stories look simple, but there is a lot of hard work and sweat behind them. Chen Lian glanced at Sun Changting's legs and said, there are only a few people in the world who can break the world record. Speaking of the world record, Sun Changting said excitedly, I still remember the feeling at that time. I didn't expect that I could break the world record at first. Perhaps because they were talking about his glorious history, Sun Changting kept talking for a long time, and Chen Lian kept listening silently. Looking at the high-spirited Sun Changting, he could intuitively feel the passion in his heart. After talking about winning the gold medal and breaking the world record for a while, Sun Changting smiled sheepishly and said, this has little to do with the plot of the movie. Let me tell you about my training at that time. Chen Lian nodded and watched as Sun Changting unzipped his trousers and exposed his prosthetic limbs. Sun Changting patted his prosthetic leg and said, wearing this thing is very painful, especially in summer when it is easy to sweat. If it wears out, it will feel really uncomfortable. Chen Lian bent down and took a closer look and said, can you tell me how it feels during walking and training? Sun Changting put down the trousers he was carrying, and then said with some regret, training is hard and tiring, but when I run, it makes me forget that I am a disabled person. The faster I run, the faster I forget that I am a disabled person. Sun Changting took 2 steps as he spoke, and then said, actually, it is uncomfortable when walking. It is psychologically uncomfortable. The slower the speed, the more clearly you can feel the presence of the prosthetic limb. Chen Lian smoked a cigarette and watched quietly as Sun Changting told his story and his feelings word by word, and the character building in his heart gradually became fuller and more three-dimensional. Even the posture of his right leg gradually changed into the same shape as Sun Changting. This imitation does not involve any discrimination or joking, just to better fit the character's image. Sun Changting also noticed Chen Lian's posture, and did not feel humiliated. He said with appreciation, you are really good actors. You can almost imitate it after just a few glances. There's still a long way to go. Although the movements are similar, the feelings in my heart will always be different. Chen Lian shook his head, then glanced at the set that had been set up on the playground, stamped out the cigarette butts and said, please treat me at noon. Eat, then ask for advice, I'll go take pictures first. Sun Changting nodded with a smile and joked, I should treat you to dinner. If you are so handsome and play me, I will make a lot of money. No, if you only praise me for being handsome, you are denying my acting skills. This is not a good evaluation for an actor, Chen Lian joked back, and then ran towards the set. Sun Changting looked at Chen Lian's running posture. He was stunned for a moment and then couldn't help but said, it looks really similar to him. I don't know, I really thought he had bad legs and feet. The staff at the studio were stunned when they saw Chen Lian running over. What happened? His foot was twisted? Or have you already assumed the role? Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian's running posture, and then glanced at Sun Changting in the distance. A glimmer of excitement flashed in his eyes. It was so similar. It's so similar. Not only the running posture, but also the energy in his eyes were different. In the morning, Huo Jiankai felt that Chen Lian looked sluggish, but now he immediately turned into a motivated athlete. Huo Jiankai couldn't help but turn his head and glance at Wang Qianyuan. He played an athlete who lost an arm, but there was no way to compare with Chen Lian in terms of form or spirit. What a difference! The gap between actors is the same as the gap between athletes. The gap between those who can break world records and those who are ranked last is a gap that may not be surpassed in a lifetime. Wang Qianyuan felt extremely uncomfortable at this moment. She originally thought that her acting skills would be better than Chen Lian's, but she was also a sophomore at the Chinese Theatre Academy, so how could she be outclassed by Chen Lian? Moreover, Chen Lian is still an artist and a part-time actor. Is there such a big gap between people? Wang Qianyuan also felt a sense of unwillingness to admit defeat. In the play, he and Chen Lian trained together to compete with each other. Now this emotion perfectly fits the character's state. Huo Jiankai's eyes lit up slightly when he looked at Wang Qianyuan. He felt energetic and had a feeling. Chen Lian's performance inadvertently triggered the catfish effect. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 140. Chapter 139-137. When he shows me his ABS, can I not know if he is a good person? On the green football field, the hot sunshine made people unable to open their eyes, but it still could not stop the passion on the field. The collision of the body, the fast running, and the powerful ejaculation are all filled with the most primitive hormonal atmosphere. Chen Lian's pace is flexible, and dribbling is as easy as drinking water. He bypasses every defensive player and successfully breaks through the opponent's defense. With his eyes on the goal in front of him, he raises his right leg high and jerks the football under his feet. Shoot out. The high-speed rotating football hit the net at a tricky angle under the sun. When the football landed, the goalkeeper who flew towards him rushed over and fell heavily to the ground. In, Chen Lian shouted suddenly and jumped up happily. The coach and Ning Jing outside the court smiled happily when they saw this scene, but they froze before their smiles fully bloomed. The prosthetic leg on Chen Lian's left leg suddenly fell off while he was jumping in the air. Chen Lian lost his center of gravity and immediately fell to the ground. Bang! There was an intimate contact between the body and the grass. The coach on the sidelines ran over nervously. This was the eve of the sports meeting. If he was injured, how could he participate in the sports meeting? However, the coach couldn't run as fast as Ning Jing. Ning Jing, who was wearing a white skirt, quickly ran to Chen Lian, held up his head and asked, "Are you okay? Did you fall somewhere?" Chen Lian grimaced in pain, but seeing Ning Jing's concerned look, he couldn't help but smile broadly and said, "Isn't that a cool shot just now?" Seeing that Chen Lian was still thinking about joking with her, Ning Jing breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at his teeth that were shining white in the sun, she couldn't help but hit him lightly and said, "It scared me to death." "You still have thoughts?" Joke. When the coach who ran over saw this scene, he stopped and put a smile on his face again. "Okay." Click. At the other end of the football field, Huo Jiankai stood up and shouted loudly. Hearing the click, Chen Lian immediately sat up from Ning Jing's arms, wiped the sweat from his forehead and breathed a long sigh of relief, and then quickly began to untie the straps on his legs. In order to shoot the scene where the prosthetic limb just fell off, Chen Lian bent his calf and tied it to his thigh. Although it couldn't be fake, but with the help of the camera angle, it was enough to deceive the audience. Ning Jing looked at the clumsy Chen Lian and couldn't help but reach out to help. She slapped Chen Lian's hand away and said, "Don't move, I'll help you." It was really difficult for Chen Lian to untie it himself, so he let go and let Ning Jing help. "You're pretty good, you can jump so high with one leg," Ning Jing said while untying her straps. Chen Lian sat on the ground with his hands on the ground, looked at Ning Jing and said, "What am I doing? Sun Changting is really good. He really broke the world record with one leg." Everyone has their own strengths. Ning Jing untied the last tie, threw it aside and looked at Chen Lian and said, "But your physical fitness is really good. There are few actors I have ever seen who are better than you. No matter how you look like an artist, being an athlete is enough. If one day my hand breaks and I can't film or draw, I will become an athlete and try to break a world record." Chen Lian stretched his left leg and said with a smile. Ning Jing looked at Chen Lian speechlessly and said, "I have never seen anyone curse me. Haha, we are not feudal and superstitious, and we are not afraid of this." Chen Lian stood up with a smile and jumped on the spot, then turned to look at Huo Jiankai and shouted, "Director, when will the next scene start? The game is over." Huo Jiankai, who was watching the replay, heard Chen Lian's words. He raised his head and looked at the energetic young men on the football field. He also stood up with a smile and said, "Okay, but you have to add me." I used to play center. I don't know if it was because of the changes in the script that the tone of the movie became positive. After the entire crew started filming, Huo Jiankai's original nervousness was also affected, and he became full of energy. The football field became lively again. Chen Lian ran towards the opponent's penalty area and shouted, "Pass the ball to me." The wanton sweat and joyful shouts made the entire set youthful and full of energy. In the shade on the sidelines, Ning Jing drank a soda and turned to look at Jin Qiao, who was applying sunscreen, and asked, "Why do you feel unhappy?" Jin Qiao put down the sunscreen in her hand and said, "I only have one shot today, and I have been here in the sun all afternoon. Chen Lian also wants to play football, so he will waste time." After Ning Jing glanced at Jin Qiao, she withdrew her gaze and ignored her. It was not an unnecessary question for someone walking along the way. Jin Qiao complained as she watched Chen Lian running around the green field, but couldn't help but look at him a few more times. Especially when Chen Lian lifted up his t-shirt to wipe his sweat, her eyes lingered on his abdominal muscles for a long time. "You have such a good figure," Ning Jing couldn't help but admire, put down the drink in her hand and shouted at Chen Lian, "Chen Lian, take off your clothes." Ning Jing was coaxing her, and the crew watching the excitement immediately started shouting, "Take off your clothes! Take off your clothes!" The loudest shouters were two makeup artists in their 30s. They were just as excited as if they were throwing money at a club to make male models dance. Chen Lian turned to look at them and deliberately made a fake move to take off his clothes. The women immediately started cheering loudly, and even Jin Qiao, who had a problem with Chen Lian, couldn't help but secretly look forward to it. It's a pity that Chen Lian pulled the clothes halfway and put them down again, then grabbed the corner of the clothes and shouted, "Did you pay? You just want to see me take off my clothes? Go ahead and dream." Chen Lian teased them, then ran quickly and found the right opportunity to steal the ball from the opponent's player. Several women who did not see the temptation of the handsome man showed disappointed expressions and couldn't help but let out a tacit boo. There are actually quite a few scenes of beautiful men seducing people in this movie. There is a scene of Chen Lian taking off his shirt and running, and a scene of the coach giving him a massage to recover. In addition, Huo Jiankai also added a scene of Chen Lian taking a shower in the playground. Lens. The warm tap water from the water pipe sprayed out and instantly wet Chen Lian's white t-shirt. The obvious muscles appeared instantly. Chen Lian shook the water droplets from his hair, took off the t-shirt, and revealed his perfect body. "Show off your good figure." The women behind the camera who had been waiting for the scene couldn't help but scream, and instantly scrapped this group of shots. This is already the 6th time. Huo Jiankai turned his head and looked at the nymphomaniac women. He covered his forehead and didn't know how to scold them. He could only stop and prepare for another one. The two older makeup artists couldn't help but swallow their saliva when looking at Chen Lian's strong muscles. The wide shoulders, narrow waist and 8-pack abs are too lethal. When paired with Chen Lian's face, he is like a walking hormone, a human aphrodisiac. The makeup artist ran over and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Xiao Chen, don't move. I'll touch up your makeup." Chen Lian looked at her little hands that were about to move, and immediately jumped away and said warily, "Don't fool me, you don't need makeup for this scene." The makeup artist who was exposed sighed in disappointment. Who did she think she was? Are we the kind of people who just touch and eat your tofu? So what if I touch it? You can't go against a woman's will, don't you know? Jin Qiao looked at Chen Lian, who had put on his clothes again and was wiping his hair. Her resentment towards him disappeared completely. As long as he is a handsome guy on welfare, he is a handsome guy. Ning Jing looked at Jin Qiao's straight eyes and couldn't help but teased, "Aren't you unhappy with him? You said he is not a good person." Jin Qiao pursed her lips, hummed and didn't answer. "He didn't charge me any money and showed off his muscles to me. How could I not know if he was a good person?" Seeing Jin Qiao's tough mouth, Ning Jing chuckled and stopped teasing her deliberately. Chen Lian, who somehow had an extra good guy card, wiped his hair and shouted to the group of lustful women, "Stop making trouble later, I'm almost peeling off my skin." The two bolder elder sisters whistled at Chen Lian and shouted, "Not enough. Not enough at all." Chen Lian was speechless. In this era where the atmosphere was so unrestrained, there was really nothing he could do to deal with these elder sisters. He had no choice but to ask Huo Jian for help. "Director, if you don't use sync sound for this section, you can dub it later." Huo Jiankai said helplessly, "Let's shoot first. Don't stop this time. Just finish shooting. If they still make noises, use post-production dubbing." After another scene, Chen Lian had just taken off his clothes, and another deliberately disruptive scream sounded on the set. However, this time Chen Lian did not stop, and Huo Jiankai did not shout, and finished filming the scene completely. Seeing the wise director, several women shut up in disappointment, full of resentment towards such an ignorant new director. Directors who don't give out benefits are not good directors. Today's lunch chicken drumstick was deducted from him. After the beautiful man's wet temptation ended, the crew's filming returned to normal, and soon it was Jin Qiao's turn. She plays Ning Jing's best friend in the play. After seeing Ning Jing falling in love with a disabled person, she always wanted to persuade her to be sensible. However, after seeing the efforts the male protagonist put in training and his positive inner nature, she finally stopped trying to persuade him. Today's scene is the scene where Jin Qiao's attitude changed after she came to the training base and saw Chen immediately training hard. The scenes were not difficult and there were very few shots. The main pressure was on Chen Lian, because he had to run in a sweaty way on the playground. If Jin Qiao deliberately failed, Chen Lian would have to run over and over again. Jin Qiao originally had this plan, but because of Chen Lian's previous free benefits, Chen Lian finally became serious after deliberately running 2 more laps and falling twice during the filming. This is considered lucky for Chen Lian. If he encounters someone who is deliberately looking for trouble, Chen Lian may really have to run away. I can only say that if you want to trouble someone in the entertainment industry, don't use too many methods. Jin Qiao looked at Chen Lian, who was sweating profusely on the track, and saw that he accidentally fell down and lost his prosthetic leg. He reinstalled it and continued training without a single complaint. She felt very complicated in her heart. She saw persistence and disability. There is a strong and rock-solid heart hidden in the body. When Chen Lian finished training, he took off his prosthesis and walked to Jin Qiao on a crutch, looked at her and asked, "Why are you here?" "I'm here to find you." Jin Qiao looked at Chen Lian's crutches, and the thousands of words she had prepared in her heart could not be said at this moment. Chen Lian frowned and said, "If you have anything to say, just say it." "I know what you mean." "Nothing to say, I'm leaving." Jin Qiao said with a complicated expression, turned around and left. After taking 2 steps, she turned back and said, "I wish you victory in the competition." Chen Lian looked at Jin Qiao's back while leaning on his crutches, and finally silently walked toward the lounge with his crutches hopping. After the filming of this scene, Chen Lian did not drop the crutch in his hand. He always felt that when he was using crutches, his movements were not quite right, so he started practicing in the lounge. Jin Qiao was about to leave after filming this scene, but seeing Chen Lian still on crutches, she thought she had just deliberately teased Chen Lian and made him fall twice more. She really twisted his foot, so she couldn't help but run over and ask. He said, "Are you hurt?" "I'm sorry just now. I shouldn't have caused you to fall twice more." Chen Lian looked at her with a strange expression, then put down his crutches and said calmly, "It's not hurt, it's just some practice, but I accept your apology." Jin Qiao, was the dog man just pretending? Cheating my feelings? Just to ask me to come over and apologize? How stingy you are. Jin Qiao glared at Chen Lian angrily, turned around and left. "Classmate, don't leave," Chen Lian shouted insincerely from behind, and his classmates couldn't tolerate him either. Looking at Jin Qiao's two big white legs under her short shorts, she clicked her tongue and continued practicing on crutches. Princess Peacock has long legs and a really good figure, but her face is a bit long. Long hair is okay, but short hair is very inappropriate. I don't know why Jin Qiao always likes to have short hair later. Doesn't she think it's weird? Does it look good? Women sometimes really have weird aesthetics, and they are very persistent. After Chen Lian practiced on crutches for a while, Huo Jiankai called him over with a shooting schedule in his hand. "Lian, you're going to have to work hard in the next few days, so hurry up." Huo Jiankai shook the schedule in his hand and said, "You're going to Venice next month, so I can only focus on filming your scenes first, so there won't be any delays. Shoot." Chen Lian also knew that if he went to Venice, the crew would be able to shoot normally, so he naturally nodded and agreed to Huo Jiankai's request. Filming from morning to night, high-density scenes, and being in the character state for a long time, Chen Lian is now almost completely integrated with the character. Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian, who was walking awkwardly and had one of his legs tied up on purpose, and couldn't help but remind him, "Lian, please take it easy and don't get too involved in the drama." Chen Lian shook his head and said, "How can you perform well if you don't go deep into it? There are some things that you must persist in. You cannot let Sun Changting win glory for the country." Huo Jiankai couldn't help but pat Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, "If this movie is completed, I will look for you in the next one. You are a good actor." "Next movie? I'm afraid it's not a Mountain Man Dog, right?" Chen Lian recalled it and suddenly remembered that he had watched Huo Jiankai's second movie. The heroine is He Qin, and there are also Jin Xing and Yang Mi in it. What singer is the name of the movie? Chen Lian couldn't recall too many details, so he said to Huo Jiankai, "Director, finish filming this movie first, and we'll talk about the next one when the time comes. This movie will definitely be a success. I'm very confident now." Huo Jiankai couldn't help but burst out laughing. Then he patted Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, "Thanks to you. If you hadn't asked me to change the script, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It won't get smoother as the filming progresses. The more I think about it now, the more I feel that the previous script was too small." Chen Lian tugged at the corner of his mouth and complained, "You are still blaming me now. I am just giving you an opinion. You want to change it yourself. Haha, I can't help you. When the movie is finished, I'll treat you to a drink." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 141. Chapter 140-138. This may be fate. The sun was high, the huge stadium was bustling with people, and several actors in sportswear gathered together to stretch their hands and feet. Chen Lian jumped on the spot a few times, feeling that his body was already moving, so he waited quietly for the filming to begin. Today is his last scene. After filming, he wrapped it up. He has been focusing on filming his scenes for a while, and now it is finally finished. Today's scene is also the ending of the movie. At this Far Eastern Games, I won a gold medal, broke the world record, and finally got married to my beloved. Huo Jiankai set up the camera and carefully checked all the links before he breathed a sigh of relief. There were so many extras participating in the performance today that it took a long time for the stadium to get a filming permit for one day. All aspects must be fully prepared and all shots must be taken at once. After Huo Jiankai confirmed that there were no problems in all aspects, he picked up the loudspeaker and shouted loudly, "All departments are ready, and all extras are ready according to the scheduled rehearsal." Shooting will start on time in 1 minute. Hearing Huo Jiankai's voice, everyone became serious. Chen Lian also came to the starting point of the track to adjust his condition. Huo Jiankai, who was behind the monitor, looked carefully around the camera screen, and after confirming that there was no problem, he shouted loudly, "Start!" On the track, Chen Lian came to the starting point, exhaled softly, then turned to look at the auditorium in the distance. Looking at the empty seat, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. She still didn't come. Maybe it was like what those who tried to dissuade her from being blind said. She was just a disabled person. Who could guarantee that she would not regret it in the future and that the two of them would be happy together? Chen Lian felt a touch of disappointment lingering in his heart, but looking at the expectant faces of his coach and teammates not far away, as well as the supportive audience in the auditorium, he quickly drove away all the affection between his son and his daughter. After finally reaching the finals, I must not live up to everyone's expectations, nor can I live up to my own efforts for so long. All athletes prepare. The referee on the sidelines shouted loudly, and Chen Lian immediately came to his track, bent down and stepped on his running machine. Outside the stadium, Ning Jing, who was wearing a white skirt, heard the noise in the stadium and quickened her steps. She didn't have time to wipe the sweat on her forehead. At this time, there were no spectators at the entrance of the stadium. There were only two ticket collectors leaning on the railings and chatting in boredom. Ning Jing quickly ran over, opened her bag and started looking for tickets. Boom! The command gun suddenly sounded, and the sound of the gunshot echoed in the stadium for a long time. When Ning Jing at the ticket gate heard the gunshot, she didn't care about looking for the ticket. She directly stuffed her bag into the ticket inspector and said, "The ticket is inside, you can find it yourself." After saying that, he rushed in desperately, praying in his heart that he would be able to witness him crossing the finish line in time. In the stadium, on the red track, Chen Lian's mind was completely empty. He just relied on the instinct of long-term training to squeeze out all his potential. Faster! Faster! Chen Lian's steps were fast and his arms were swinging vigorously. In his eyes, there was only the red line 100 meters away. The commentator on the edge of the track and field shouted excitedly, "Ahead! We are ahead!" Lian's start was perfect. The coach waiting outside the finish line clenched his fists and stood on tiptoes excitedly to look at the speeding figure. In the dark passage outside the stadium, Ning Jing, who was wearing a white dress, listened to the commentator's voice and ran hard towards the light at the end of the passage. At this time, the two running figures inside and outside the field seemed to overlap, both trying hard to reach their own end. Crossing the line. Chen Lian is in first place. The announcers' shouts and the audience's cheers erupted violently. On the track and field, Chen Lian leaned forward and crossed the finish line. Ning Jing, who was in the tunnel, also ran out of the dark tunnel at this moment. The hot sun shone on her body, just like Chen Lian, who was shining on all the honors at the finish line. Same on body. Chen Lian stopped and gasped for breath, looking at the coach and teammates running towards him, but his eyes passed through them and landed on the girl who was shining brightly in the sun. The two people's eyes converged at this moment, and they showed a victorious smile at the same time. After winning, he outperformed his opponents on the track and won the championship. In life, he outperformed prejudice and gained love. Chen Lian finished filming, but he didn't feel any joy. After such a long period of filming, he learned more and more about the group of disabled athletes, and always felt that he should do something for them. The protagonist in the movie can overcome the difficulties and prejudices of life, but in reality, how many disabled people fail miserably in their battle with life? Chen Lian lowered his head and glanced at his left leg. He always had an unreal feeling in a trance. He subconsciously wanted to remove the prosthetic leg many times, but where did he get the prosthetic leg? What are you thinking about? I still have a bitter look on my face after I finished the film, But I'm still not ashamed of myself when I didn't finish the film, Ningjing asked, looking at Chen Lian's frowning brows. Chen Lian shook his head and said, "It's nothing, it's just that I haven't played yet. I'll just adjust it later." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Ningjing couldn't help but said, "You have worked too hard during this period. Just go back and take a good rest." "Well, I know what I'm doing. Just go to Venice." Chen Lian nodded lightly, then looked at Ningjing and asked, "Did Zhang Wen go to Venice?" Hearing Chen Lian's question, Ningjing had an unpleasant expression on her face, and she cursed with a somewhat hot temper, "Don't mention him to me." Chen Lian was stunned for a moment. What happened? An argument? But thinking about it, the time seems to be about the same. It seems that the time when these two people parted ways was this year. Ningjing looked at Chen Lian's confused look and said quickly, "I'm not targeting you, just don't mention him again." During this period of time, she was almost annoyed to death by these nonsense. Some time ago, the woman named Lu actually introduced a foreign woman to Zhang Wen. You are really willing to spend a lot of money to get revenge on yourself. The key point is that Zhang Wen, this unreliable person, really likes her. It can only be said that the person who understands men best is his ex. He knows exactly what kind of woman you like. How could Ningjing endure this fiery temper? Zhang Wen was considered well educated if he didn't slap her loudly. Chen Lian looked at Ningjing like a hedgehog with its thorns exploding, and closed her mouth and stopped talking. This girl has such a bad temper, she can really curse when she gets angry. Seeing that Chen Lian stopped talking, Ningjing was angry for a while before she regained her composure. She looked at him and said, "He is not going to Venice anymore. He is busy dating foreign women." "Chen Lian, the world is really chaotic." Ningjing is talking about Sanderlin. They will get married and have children. Don't be so angry then. What a mess. You are no good. Ningjing couldn't help but choked when she thought of Chen Lian's scandals. Looking at the hot-tempered Ningjing, Chen Lian said without any guilt, "I'm still single, why can't I be a good thing?" Ningjing looked at Chen Lian with disdain, clasped her fingers and said, "The girl who drove you to the set these days, Gong Li, who came to visit the studio 2 days ago, and—" "Stop, stop, stop." Chen Lian quickly pressed down on Ningjing's hand and said in resignation, "You're right, I'm not a joke." "Humph." Ningjing snorted, then turned and walked away, like a victorious white swan, well, a tanned white swan. Looking at Ningjing's leaving figure, Chen Lian couldn't help but curl his lips. This girl is really untouchable. She really exposes her shortcomings and doesn't give her any face. I have to teach her a lesson if I get the chance. After Huo Jiankai saw Ningjing leaving in the distance, he ran over and said to Chen Lian, "Did you offend her?" No. Chen Lian turned to look at Huo Jiankai. He wouldn't admit that he was insulted by Ningjing even to death. He couldn't afford to embarrass that person. Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian suspiciously, not believing what he said at all. The posture he looked at just now didn't look like him. Moreover, as a director, Ningjing had criticized her several times, so how could she give Chen Lian face? "What kind of look do you have?" Chen Lian touched his nose and said nonsensically, "She and I were talking about art, and she also studies painting." "I'm still studying art, why don't you discuss art with me?" Huo Jiankai glanced at Chen Lian with disdain, and then whispered, "You'd better not touch this girl, otherwise you will suffer." "Chen Lian, am I that kind of person?" Looking at Chen Lian, who was silent, Huo Jiankai winked again and said, "But if you are really interested in her, now is a good opportunity. Zhang Wen's story has spread throughout the circle. Am I the kind of person who takes advantage of the situation?" Chen Lian accused angrily, "Director Huo, I misjudged you. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person." "Huo Jiankai, you keep pretending. Just pretend." Chen Lian snorted, turned around and left. However, after such a fuss, Chen Lian's original mentality was immediately disturbed. Chen Lian has no interest in Ningjing, a sexy and hot girl, even if he has no time or opportunity now. It's the end of August now, and I won't be able to catch up with the film festival if I don't go to Venice. Moreover, the Biennale art exhibition is about to start judging, so Bai Qing may not be able to cope there alone. Chen Lian doesn't have high hopes for the Venice Film Festival. The possibility of winning an award is too small. Even if he does win an award, it will probably be some inferior association award. His main expectation is still in the art exhibition. The theme of this exhibition is very suitable for his works, and the possibility of winning an award is much higher than that of the movie. This time no one recognized Chen Lian on the plane to Italy, and he was at ease. He slept on the plane and then arrived in Milan. As soon as Chen Lian came out of the exit, he saw Bai Qing wearing an Italian-style skirt and a big sun hat, leaning lazily on the fence. After seeing Chen Lian coming out, Bai Qing held onto his sun hat and stood up slowly. He was not excited at all and was not as enthusiastic as the tour guides around him who were picking him up at the airport. Chen Lian pulled the box and walked over. Looking at Bai Qing, who was full of retro and exotic style, he couldn't help but flick the feather on her sun hat and asked, "It seems that you have been very happy during this time. It's nice to not have to look at a bad man." Bai Qing raised her head and looked at Chen Lian. The hot light in her eyes was not at all synchronized with what she said. Chen Lian smiled and pulled Bai Qing's hand up and said, "Then your good days are coming to an end." Bai Qing pinched Chen Lian's palm, but the corners of his mouth slightly raised under the big brim of his hat. "Let's spend 2 days in Milan and then go to Venice." Chen Lian looked at a huge promotional poster in the airport, turned to look at Bai Qing and said. Bai Qing shook his head and said, "No, I've been playing for several days. But I haven't played it yet." "No. Oh." Returning to Venice, a humid water city, Chen Lian was pulled away by Shu Qi and Wang Xiaohui, who arrived in advance before he had time to rest. Bai Qing looked at the 3 men leaving and suddenly regretted why he didn't agree to Chen Lian's stay in Milan for a few more days. Why did this man belong to someone else as soon as he arrived in Venice? Guess. In a busy bar, Shu Qi said excitedly, "Lian, this movie has been shortlisted for the main competition. I just don't know what nominations it will get. I think you will definitely be shortlisted for Best Actor." Main competition section, Chen Lian looked at Wang Xiaohui with some surprise and said, "Really or not? I thought it was just the screening section." "Really, I originally thought it was just for the screening section, but I didn't expect to be shortlisted for the main competition section," Wang Xiaohui also said excitedly. Chen Lian picked up the beer and said, "It's really weird, but this is a good thing. Let's celebrate with a drink." "Wait a minute," Shu Qi quickly stopped and said, "There is another good news." "Is there any good news?" Chen Lian became even more puzzled and urged curiously, "What's going on? Tell me quickly and stop inking." Seeing the curious look on Chen Lian's face, Shu Qi didn't give in and said with a smile, "There are already 2 film companies interested in purchasing the film rights, and the bids are not low." When he heard that it was about selling the film, Chen Lian immediately lost interest. How much it sold had nothing to do with him, and he was not the one making money. Wang Xiaohui looked at Chen Lian, who was not very excited, and said with a smile, "Shu Qi and I discussed it. In addition to the share given to Tang Chen, he and I will give you 10%. Give yourself a share? What is this operation?" Chen Lian looked at Wang Xiaohui and Shu Qi with some confusion, and asked strangely, "Why should Hao Duan be given a share? 10% is not a small amount. Don't be impulsive." "Haha, I knew you would say that." Shu Qi laughed and said, "Actually, it's thanks to you that someone is interested in the movie rights. Those 2 film companies are both from France, and they came here just for you." "Chen Lian, are you so awesome now? I do not know how." Looking at the confused Chen Lian, Shu Qi laughed and said, "Don't doubt it, I just came here for you." I didn't know until I came to Venice that you are so famous in the art world now. You can hear about it at art exhibitions almost every day to have someone discuss your work. Yes, when I visited 2 days ago, I heard that Claire, the curator of the art exhibition, highly praised your work. Wang Xiaohui said with some emotion. Your work is highly consistent with the theme of the exhibition, and your identity is closely related to your work. Difference, the representation of figures from 1895–1995. Did you already know the theme of this exhibition when you created it? Chen Lian raised his eyebrows, took a sip of beer and said, I really don't know, and Claire was only brought in later. Who knew he would come up with such a theme? I can only say it was luck. Could this be fate? This thought suddenly flashed through Chen Lian's mind. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 142. Chapter 141–139. When the west is not bright, the east is bright. In the dark and silent hotel room, Chen Lian threw off his shoes, threw his t-shirt on the sofa, and walked to the air conditioner to enjoy the cold air. This is simply a life-saving fairy spirit. On the big bed behind Chen Lian, Bai Qing opened his eyes and looked at Chen Lian, whose figure was blurry in the darkness, and reached out to turn on the wall lamp beside the bed. The warm yellow light illuminated the room instantly. Under the soft light, Bai Chang held his head on his hands and looked at Chen Lian's generous back. He felt that his muscles had become much fuller after not seeing him for more than a month. Did I disturb you? Chen Lian turned his head and glanced at Bai Qing and asked. Bai Qing hummed and said, You came back and made such a big noise, didn't you just want to wake me up? Chen Lian turned around and smiled, wiped the sweat from his neck and said, The weather is too hot, I have to take a shower, I will definitely wake you up. Okay, let's go wash it. Bai Qing yawned, stood up the pillow and leaned on it, picked up the book on the bedside and started reading. Chen Lian glanced at the cover of the book and couldn't help but smacked his lips. No wonder he felt something was wrong with this girl. Emotions can only be found in books. Notes on Love is a novel written by the British writer Alain de Botton. It contains many philosophical thoughts on the different stages of love. It is a very interesting book. People will grow up. After Bai Qing escapes from poverty, he will naturally think more about life and life. This is a good thing. Chen Lian glanced at Bai Qing, who was reading a book seriously, then turned to go to the bathroom to take a shower. What is the essence of love? Can it be written in a book? Chen Lian doesn't think that love can be answered in a book. If it could, then he would have already understood what love is. The sound of rushing water in the bathroom kept coming, accompanied by Chen Lian's inarticulate humming. Bai Qing put down the book in his hand and listened for a while. He found that he couldn't hear clearly at all, so he picked up the book and continued reading. Bai Qing found it very interesting when she read the book's speculation on the fatalism of love. She originally thought that her encounter with Chen Lian was destined, but after reading the dialectics of the author's various mathematical thinking in the book, she suddenly felt that she and Chen Lian were destined to meet each other. The encounter may have been by chance. Bai Qing closed the book and looked at Chen Lian's blurry figure on the frosted glass of the bathroom. He stared at it quietly for a long time. Finally, he couldn't help laughing, shook his head, and said to himself, Isn't chance also fate? Bai Qing, who seemed to have the answer in his mind, threw the book into the trash can, sat up and gathered his hair, got up and poured 2 glasses of wine. At this time, Chen Lian came out wearing a nightgown and wiping his hair. He looked at the wine glass in Bai Qing's hand, reached for it, took a sip and said, Why don't you continue reading? That book is not interesting. Bai Qing shook his head, drank the wine in the glass in one gulp, and then shook his hair slightly. The hair that was originally gathered together fell apart instantly, and Chen Lian was immediately attracted by a different style. Put down the wine glass in his hand. Want to dance? Chen Lian smiled and stretched out his hand, looking at Bai Qing and asked. Bai Qing put his hand in Chen Lian's palm and said with a smile, "I'm extremely happy." Although the dance without music was not perfect, the two still danced happily. However, Bo Qing was a little clumsy and would always step on Chen Lian's feet, then lose her center of gravity and fall into his arms. Early the next morning, Chen Lian got up from the soft big bed, stepped on the clean floor with his bare feet, looked at the sun outside the window, stretched out comfortably, then washed briefly, changed into clothes and went out. There was an artist's party today, and Chen Lian also received an invitation. He and Bai Qing were originally invited, but Bai Qing seemed to hate the person hosting the party and refused. The banquet was hosted by the curator Claire. This time the curator Claire had an interesting approach, that is, countries that did not support the Third World were not welcome to participate in the Venice Biennale. In his words, their concept of art is strictly limited to the West, and any institution, art exhibition, or museum that falsely tolerates Third World artists is completing the last piece of the puzzle of misinterpreted colonialism. However, this art exhibition still has many artists from Third World countries participating, such as Chen Lian. This is a very traditional and conservative art critic. He even wrote a book the year before last. The opening chapter pointed out some strange phenomena in the art circle, and these strange phenomena were exactly what Chen Lian had experienced in Paris and China. Claire made a few points, and Chen Lian was very impressed. First, Western contemporary art thought is essentially ethnocentrism with Western superiority as its core. Second, Western contemporary art is full of various invisible speech controls and censorships. Many of them all contemporary artists were once tools of political propaganda. Third, artists should create based on the individuality and diversity of national culture and should not become processors of the so-called international style. And finally, there is one point, art and artists, we should be full of respect for tradition and return to our origins. This is a man with a clear understanding. Chen Lian quite agrees with some of his remarks, but he is just curious about why he is so interested in his works and invites himself to the party. According to his philosophy, he should belong to the group he denounced, linked to business and politics. The only thing similar to his philosophy is that he respects tradition and respects the diversity and individuality of national culture. The reason why Bai Qing hates Claire and is unwilling to participate is because of Claire's artistic reflection. The domestic art trend is exactly the opposite of Claire's. The domestic art circle has deified Western contemporary art, and only in China can these artistic ideas be deified. This made Bai Qing, who has received domestic education for so many years, a little disgusted for a while. What I hate is not that I think Claire was wrong, but that he exposed the truth nakedly. This was also the reason why Chen Lian had been busy attending various salons and seminars in Venice, while Bai Qing went shopping by himself. This is actually normal. Chen Lian has known these things from the beginning. This phenomenon is not only evident in the field of art, but also in all fields. However, the greatest impact is still in the cultural field. The superiority of cultural export and ideology has subtly undermined the local culture of the Third World. Do you know that the dog and the male were created in this way? Why do people feel that the moon outside is rounder in the 1980s and 1990s? Even more than 20 years later, when the country has become stronger, some people still feel that the moon outside is rounder. This is all due to the destructive destruction and the replacement of the roots of foreign culture. It took root and sprouted. If he could talk about these issues all day and night, Chen Lian would not be too lazy to think about it. He would not naively think that he could do any cultural export, and he would not think that he could do cultural export by just making a few TV series and movies. There are too many things involved here, which cannot be changed by the film and television industry, unless you are an artist, writer, politician, thinker, sociologist, psychologist, etc., and you also have a large-scale media company under your name as well as spending endless amounts of money. In the end, there are many young men and women in the Western world who will help you charge into the battle and dig out the roots and graves. Oh, I almost forgot, you must have the support of a strong country to have even the slightest possibility. In fact, there is the simplest way to do it, which is to invent a time shuttle and return to Dechin to present the elixir and world map to His Majesty. Chen Lian asked himself that it was impossible to do this. All he could do was to be an artist, nothing more, and do what he could within his own abilities. Ordinary artist Chen Lian doesn't have that much sense of mission. It's good to be an ordinary person. Why do you have to think so much when you come to a gathering with a group of artists? Chen Lian came to the gathering place, where he also met an acquaintance who was not an acquaintance, that is, Lu Zhongming, whom he met on the plane before, and another painter from China, Zhang Xiaogang. Chen Lian has seen the painting Zhang Xiaogang participated in this exhibition. It is a huge oil painting, Bloodline, Big Family No. 2. The auction price of this painting later reached more than 40 million. It is a very excellent work. When they saw Chen Lian arriving, they said hello and asked curiously, "Where is your partner?" She was confused and was trying to find a way to heal her wounds. Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile. Lu Zhongming smiled and said, "Then you should help her. Women always get into trouble." Chen Lian curled his lips and said, "Men prefer drilling." "Haha, you're right." Lu Zhongming smiled and then introduced Chen Lian, "This is Zhang Xiaogang, a very good painter." Chen Lian smiled, nodded, looked at Zhang Xiaogang and said, "I like your blood family very much. You explain Chinese family relationships very well." "No, your work is also very good, very reflective and very innovative," Zhang Xiaogang replied with a smile. After Chen Lian smiled and chatted with Zhang Xiaogang for a few words about their respective works, he remembered Lu Zhongming next to him, turned to look at him and asked, "Have you been in Italy and not returned to China?" Lu Zhongming held the wine glass and explained, "No, I came here specifically for Christie's summer auction. Xiaogang's works will be included in the auction." Chen Lian glanced at Zhang Xiaogang beside him and nodded, then said with a smile, "I hope your work can get a good price." "Will your works also participate in the summer auction this time?" Lu Zhongming asked proactively. "Yes," Chen Lian said bluntly, "but the buyer has already made a reservation. There is nothing to hide about this kind of thing, and the rules in the art world are transparent to wealthy people." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Lu Zhongming was not surprised. He just nodded silently and said after a while, "I hope I can become your scheduled buyer if I have the opportunity in the future. Then I should thank you for your recognition." Chen Lian raised his glass and clinked it with Lu Zhongming. After drinking, he looked at Claire, the organizer of the party in the distance, and said to Lu Zhongming and Zhang Xiaogang, "Maybe we should go talk to the owner here. Just a few words." "Certainly." "Good. It's interesting to chat with Clay. He is a very traditional artist, and Chen Lian often speaks out words that are very inspiring." "Chen, your works are innovative. Although the patterns and forms are too fancy, you combine several different things very well. The most important thing is that the perspective you focus on is very interesting, and it has a very interesting perspective on people's social cognition and personal ideological cognition has a very unique interpretation." After Claire finished speaking, she took a sip of wine and said, "Maybe you should pay more attention to your own art. It is not good to blindly innovate. Although it caters to the mainstream and the market, but the essential pursuit of art is lost." Chen Lian was silent for a while and nodded slowly. The very beginning of the birth of art was for the continuation of the nation, whether it was text or murals. The nationality, individuality, and diversity of art. You should really add more national elements to your works. Only by having your own foundation can you bloom more beautiful flowers on this fertile soil. I don't dare to write too much in this chapter, so let's leave it at that.